Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, some good news out of Tacoma in the war against woke, and also Macklemore. The theft of his house turns out to be the product of his own liberalism. But before we get to any of that, time for your daily dose of adrenaline.
You want me to stick this into my heart? Are you f***ing nuts?
Why should anybody in Seattle care what's going on in New York City's mayoral race? We got our own problems with the mayoral race here. We got Bruce Harrell versus Katie Wilson, and they're both terrible, terrible options. What do you think's better, the smell from garbage or the smell from poo? Neither one's good. You want me to choose between the two of them? There is no good option. But what's happening in New York has ramifications for the rest of the country. Look what happened when one socialist got on the Seattle City Council. Just one. Others were inspired to run. Other people tried to be Kshama Sawant light. And you had a bunch of radicals who joined her, but you also had a bunch of people who caved to her, who were being bullied by her, and rather than stand up and fight, they just said, sure, whatever you want. That's basically what happened on the Seattle City Council with just one communist, with just one Marxist. That's the Seattle City Council, or at least they're one of 9. Now think New York City, the hub of commerce in the U.S., a city really like no other in the world. It's a city that's in every movie, every TV show. Why? Because everybody puts it on a pedestal of some amazing, amazing place, a place to be looked up to, a place like this is the height of American culture. But nationally, what's going to happen is there are plenty of places like Seattle, which have had crazy socialists running the show before. And as I've said time and time again, if Mamdani is successful in New York, the Democrats are going to think this is the model going forward. And if they think this is the model going forward, you're going to see a lot of mini Mamdanis getting elected. A lot will lose. Some places will go, nice try, no communism for us, no Marxism for us, no socialism for us. Now there's discussion about how to beat Mamdani. So what happened in the last couple days is reports have been coming out that Donald Trump has considered giving jobs, giving positions to Eric Adams and to Curtis Sliwa to get them to drop out of the race. So that way, Mamdani may have a little bit of a fight on his hands with Andrew Cuomo. Andrew Cuomo, I'm not going to pull up the old clips of Andrew Cuomo bashing Donald Trump and Donald Trump bashing Andrew Cuomo. But in this case, they both go, all right, we can't have the communist. We can't have the Marxist. We may hate each other, but at least we can sometimes work together. Because one thing, if you remember during COVID, Cuomo would always say, we didn't get this and we didn't get that. And Trump would be like, what are you talking about? We sent it yesterday. You had everything you needed. And then Cuomo would go, I need 50,000 ventilators. I need 100,000. And Trump is like, we gave them to you. You hit return. You didn't want them. They were the best ventilators you could have ever had. They were great. You didn't want them. But it was a lot of grandstanding going on during all that time. That's what it was. Right now, you have such terrible candidates in New York, such awful candidates, that I actually think Mamdani wouldn't be doing so well if you actually had somebody good worth running. If Cuomo hadn't sent all the COVID-positive people into the nursing homes, he'd probably have a lot more voters right now. But you can't undo the past. You have the present, and what is. So now you've got a problem. Why is Mamdani so popular? Why do people like him so much? And I think the reason is because our education system absolutely sucks and has been taken over by critical theory, critical race theory. Now, a lot of people don't actually know what this means. It's a buzzword. Critical theory, critical race theory, diversity, equity, and inclusion. They don't know what these things actually mean. They just go, it's all the woke stuff. All the woke stuff goes under this umbrella, and they're teaching it in schools, and they're transing the kids. It's not what it is. Critical theory was designed in the Soviet Union as an attack on capitalism. It was designed so that they could have this mantra, this ideology where they said, you work so hard. Wouldn't you rather just be given everything on a silver platter and then you work a little bit, but everybody gets the same? Doesn't that sound better? Doesn't that sound good? It sounds nice for somebody who doesn't have anything, maybe, who's struggling right now, who goes, yeah, you know what? Life is hard. I don't want to work so hard. Sounds nice. Hard work pays off, and sometimes it doesn't pay off, by the way. I found my dream job at 40. At 40. After working my tail off in multiple industries, being successful at some, being moderately successful in others, being a failure in some. But I can understand how a person might say, sure, I want the government to do all this stuff for me, especially if they don't understand that government is the problem. Critical theory was about economics. What it was about was capitalism is bad. Because of capitalism, when somebody gets rich, other people get poor. It's like Highlander. He goes around cutting people's heads off, taking their power, becoming more powerful himself. That's not actually what it is. The people who own Lotus Communications, because they do okay for themselves, I have a job. Mike has a job. If they didn't do okay for themselves, we wouldn't have jobs. There'd be no KVI right now. There'd be no Northwest News Radio. There'd be no Hank FM. There'd be no other stations around here. Because Jeff Bezos is wealthy, it doesn't mean anybody else is poorer. He came up with the idea for a company. People wanted the product. They wanted the textbooks. Then they wanted everything else under the sun. And now Jeff Bezos employs thousands, if not tens of thousands of people around the world, helping them reach a higher level of financial success. Nobody got poorer because of Jeff Bezos. People got richer because capitalism, it's a rising tide, it lifts all ships. And you can be very, very mobile in a capitalist society. There are times in my life I have had almost no money. There are times in my life I had a decent amount of money. Don't be fooled. Radio money ain't TV money, my friends, but I do okay, thank God. I can put my kids through private school. I can drive a nice car. Thank God, I can do these things. But it wasn't always the case. There were times where I was wondering where my next dollar was coming from, times where I was going paycheck to paycheck. But in a capitalist society, you can be mobile through different levels. Socialism, communism, you can't do that. It's like Gattaca. Nope, where you're at, that's where you're going to stay. Right there. It's like Brave New World. Aldous Huxley. That's what it is. This is your level. This is what you do. This is your caste system. It's amazing to me that people like Kshama Sawant want the socialism, want the communism, want the Marxism, and then say, we don't want caste systems. Well, what do you think all that actually is? That's exactly what it is. People make the false comparison between socialism and Star Trek. They say, oh, there's no money in Star Trek. First of all, it shows you have never watched Star Trek because every trader they come across has gold press latinum or whatever else it is that they're trading for a tribble. So it's not that. Captain Picard had to work hard to become captain of the Enterprise, and then he gets the captain's yacht and all the perks that go with it. In fact, there's an entire episode where it talks about what if he hadn't done that, called Tapestry, where Q actually shows him an alternate version of his life. Anybody who thinks it's talking about some socialist utopia has really never watched Star Trek and doesn't really understand it. So what's happening now is there is a tremendous pushback to all this critical race theory. They saw the critical theory didn't work because Americans, what do we want? We want to be rich. We want to be famous. That's why everybody watches the Housewives show. That's why people watch Lifestyles of the Rich and Shameless or whatever. That's why we worship celebrities, because people want to be like them. Donald Trump, it's a piece of the American dream. People wanted to be part of the golden age of America or whatever other reason it was. In this country, everybody wants to be rich. And if they say they don't want to be rich, they are lying. So just a little bit, how can I get a little bit of that goal? So they saw that wasn't working on America. So what they did was they said, okay, let's try adding in the race aspect. You are where you are in life because your skin is a different color, because you were born that way. And here's who's to blame for it. It's because you're white. It's because you're black. It's because you're Hispanic. It's because you're Jewish. It's because you're Palestinian. It's because you're Muslim. It's because you're Christian. It's whatever the case may be. Here's who's to blame. Here's who oppressed you. That's why you're at where you're at. And this thing is really reaching the end of its life. Because we have seen that when you impose this DEI garbage in the schools, the kids' mental health gets worse. We have seen that race relations go to all-time lows when you do this kind of stuff. It has not worked at all. It has been severely detrimental. So people have also pushed back because they have gone too far. The left has gone bonkers crazy with all this stuff. So much so that the new generation jokes about it. When we say, oh, that's a black garbage can over there, my kids automatically go, all garbage cans matter, Dad. They're making fun of the slogans because things have gotten so crazy. But the left has realized something. They go, we can take the blame from critical race theory. Here's who's to blame. Here's who's to blame. And we can use it to go back to the OG critical theory and make it about economics. Rather than saying, hey, kid who majored in lesbian dance theory, I'm sorry, there's no jobs out there for you. You say, you know who's to blame for that? Capitalism. That's who's to blame for the fact that you can't get a job. You want to be rich and famous? Well, unfortunately, it's those rich and famous people who are keeping you down. Here's who's keeping you down economically. And you're already seeing it start to change. What are Zoran Mamdani's policies? A grocery store that's run by the government. Well, the one that they had in Kansas City closed because it was terrible. How's the post office doing, by the way? My wife told me a story the other day. Package came to our door. Wasn't home. And they didn't leave a thing on the door. Website, when she knew what the order number was, told her to go to one place. She went to the local post office. Post office said, sorry, it's not here. It might be at this other place. She goes to the other place, wasn't there. Then she got sent to a warehouse location. That's where she finally found it. What happens if your FedEx package doesn't arrive? What happens if your UPS package doesn't arrive? Boom! Here's where you go. This is where you pick it up, or it's coming to your house the next day. Post office sucks. I'm sorry, it does. I wish we had fixed it some time ago, but unfortunately it's now a sacred cow for whatever reason it keeps going. Does the government do anything well? No. The truth is they really, really don't. But you want the government in charge of your grocery stores? You want the government in charge of your transportation? Look how that's happening right now. We have Sound Transit. Absolute disaster. And you have an unelected board. We don't even get a say in how Sound Transit operates, which is why all these politicians are yelling and screaming about what projects are not going to get done anymore. The people voted for these projects. Well, they don't get to decide who's actually running the show. Unelected bureaucrats who get paid more money than I'll ever see in a lifetime get to decide what's happening with this train, and they're doing a terrible job of it, and we have no recourse whatsoever. Mamdani's just a kid who keeps promising you the free stuff, like the kid who runs for class president, who says, we're going to have more recess, and we're going to have more free periods, and we're going to have more lunchtime, and we're going to have pizza every single day, and the days that we don't, we're going to have hot dogs. Kid can't deliver any of that. And here's the other thing that people conveniently leave out of the Mamdani equation. He comes from mega wealth. His mother is a Hollywood director who's been financed by Qatar. His campaign has been financed by Qatar. In fact, he was bragging online yesterday about the millions of dollars his campaign raised. I thought it's about the votes, not about the money. You see the hypocrisy right there with your own two eyes. Problem with New York, you have Curtis Sliwa. And I know some Republicans love this guy. He's lost before. He ain't going to win this time. Eric Adams, up to his eyeballs in allegations of corruption, and nobody I know who lives in New York actually likes him as mayor. Then you've got Andrew Cuomo, who nobody I know actually liked him as governor by the time he was leaving. You've got all these sexual allegations on top of all the COVID disastrous handling of that. You have no good candidates. So a guy like Mamdani, who talks kind of slick and looks kind of slick, all of a sudden is rising to the top, but what he's saying is actually horrifying. What he's saying is the antithesis of everything we believe in as Americans. And he's saying it with a smile on his face. He's saying the same things Kshama Sawant believes in. The media loves to talk about the Mamdani effect of, oh, look at all these socialist candidates who are now running because of Mamdani. No, my friends. The Mamdani effect is because all these socialists have been running for so long in the Democrat Party. Eventually, this is where you get to, where you have an actual communist who's within spitting distance of becoming mayor of this country's greatest city and largest city. Where today, I was on Newsmax earlier today. So I'm on a panel, and they were asking about the Mamdani stuff, and this is actually what triggered this discussion. And they had a Democrat strategist across from me who shall remain nameless. And as we're having this discussion, this guy goes on a whole tear about how moral Mamdani was. How great Mamdani is because we have all these corrupt, evil billionaires, and Mamdani, he's so moral and he's from the people. And unfortunately, after that, they go, well, it was really nice having both of you join us today, and I didn't get a chance to respond. Because the first thing I would have said is, how do you define morality when this guy is saying globalize the intifada? How do you define oligarchy? He kept using the word oligarchy, and this is a Democrat strategist. How do you define oligarchy when this guy's family is uber wealthy, and he came from that wealth, and he's never worked a real job before in his life? How do you define that? It was amazing to me listening to this other guy, this Democrat strategist, claim that Andrew Cuomo is Donald Trump's lackey, claiming that all these Democrat elitists, oh, they're all part of an oligarchy together with Donald Trump. That's why we need to elect somebody from the people like Zoran Mamdani. I know some of you right now are yelling at your radio. What the hell is this guy talking about? And I'm sitting there. I should probably pull the clip of this, Mike, after the show today, where you see at the end of this, I've got that expression on my face where my eyebrow is up, and I'm all ready to respond, and they go, all right, well, in our next story, and I was so mad. I was so mad. I was ready to just pummel this guy, figuratively speaking, not actually. We weren't even in the studio together. We were on Zoom. But unfortunately, a lot of people fall for this. Try talking to any of these brainwashed college kids. The brainwashed college kids have bought into this hook, line, and sinker. How is it the majority of our youth now favors a terrorist organization over the only democracy in the Middle East? How is it they now think communism, socialism, and Marxism can now solve their problems rather than capitalism, rather than free market? They've been brainwashed this way by a bunch of college professors who have literally been living off the taxpayers and the college system their entire lives. And they basically didn't get what they want in the 1960s and 70s, and they're getting it now. That's the youth of America. That's what we're seeing on our streets right now. A dumb society that doesn't understand how many people came to this country to escape communism, socialism, Marxism. We have callers to this show, like our friend Mario, who calls the show to warn everybody about what he fled from. Jane calls the show to warn people what she fled from in China. These are the things that the younger generation just doesn't get because they've been taught all this stuff is good stuff. China's great. Cuba's great. Cuba's healthcare system is beyond compare. Oh, it's amazing. Canada has the best healthcare system. That's why I'm sure everybody comes over here. I literally have friends who come to town. I see them every 3 or 4 months. I go, what are you guys here for? Doctor's appointments? Yeah. That's how great Canada's healthcare system is. That's how great socialized medicine is. It's a real ignorance, but it also shows that finally the Soviet Union was successful. They managed to brainwash the next generation of America through the universities. That critical theory is the way to go. Watch Mamdani's arguments. Watch the Democrat Party arguments shift to be about here's why you're at economically. Not because Joe Biden screwed up the economy with the Inflation Reduction Act and the out-of-control spending, blowing inflation through the roof. Not because Democrats have passed so many ridiculous laws, making it so you can't afford anything, making it so you can't afford a house because of zoning regulations. Watch as this pivots from the racial stuff to the economic stuff. This is my prediction. We're heading into a new school year. we're heading into election season, these are the arguments you're going to start seeing. And we're going to call them out every single time. Tell me if you agree with me. Do you think this whole racial ideology is over and done with, or at least breathing its last gasps of air, and this is going to pivot to something else? Or do you think it's going to see a resurgence depending on who gets elected? Give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, the thieves behind the burglary of Macklemore's house. Turns out it's what he voted for. We'll tell you what happened when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. I want to read this story from Fox 13 for you because I want you to have the same revelation I did at the exact same moment I did. Ready? Your light bulb's going to go on in your head while you're driving, while you're sitting at your desk, and I want you to have the same joy I did. Ready? It's about the people that have been arrested for breaking into Macklemore's house. So according to Fox 13, a man already accused in the home invasion robbery of Seattle rapper Macklemore's home has now been charged in connection with the burglaries of several other high-profile Seattle athletes' homes. Now, Patrick Masonnet, A 29-year-old Renton man is charged with 10 felony crimes, including first-degree robbery and residential burglary at the home of Baseball and Mariners Hall of Famer Ichiro Suzuki, 2 counts of residential burglary at the home of Mariners pitcher Luis Castillo, first-degree robbery and residential burglary at the home of former Seahawks cornerback Richard Sherman, residential burglary at the home of Los Angeles Dodgers pitcher Blake Snell, first-degree robbery and burglary at the home of musician Macklemore, residential burglary of a Renton home. Okay, my guess is somebody really doesn't want to be named who lives in that home. It's not just a Renton home. When I think Renton home, I think a different kind of home. I don't think one of these kind of homes. Masonnet was arrested after investigators discovered stolen goods at a South Seattle jewelry store. Prosecutors have already charged him in connection to a 2024 Seattle robbery case and a Bellevue jewelry store robbery. He remains in jail, now on over $2.2 million in bail. Here we go. His co-defendant, Earl Henderson Riley IV, was previously charged in 5 felony crimes, including the home invasion burglary of Seattle Mariners outfielder Julio Rodriguez. Riley pleaded not guilty to his charges on June 30th and remains in jail. Both Riley and Masonnet are charged with the March 28th burglary of Luis Castillo's home. Renton police released surveillance video allegedly showing Masonnet attempting to steal from a safe at a home in Renton. Do you get that these guys are prolific offenders who have been released time and time again or not prosecuted fully to the fullest extent of the law time and time and time again? They didn't just start out this week. No, they're prolific offenders. So the people who feel jail, bad, the people who feel, no, don't prosecute criminals, I don't know how the sports stars vote, but I know how Macklemore votes because he talks about it all the time. So the people who support this liberal insanity are literally products of their own stupid voting record. You get what you vote for, good and hard. In fact, President Trump right now is talking about trying to end cashless bail. So cashless bail is really one of the dumbest things in the world, where basically there's no reason for you to ever come back to jail, ever. Ever. I mean, not to jail, to prosecution, to court. There's no reason for you to ever do it. These bail groups that raise all this money to bail you out, it's not your money on the hook. It's some random group. What do you care if you skip bail, like the Northwest Community Bail Fund? We've seen that happen multiple times, where they bail out some really terrible people. Like that guy did he shoot an officer? That was one of them. That was the first suspect in a homicide of our record-breaking homicide year, if I recall correctly. Doing that from memory. So according to the White House, preventing federal support for senseless cashless bail. Today, President Donald J. Trump signed an executive order to protect Americans by ensuring federal policies and resources are not used to support cashless bail policies across the nation. The order directs the Attorney General to submit a list of states and local jurisdictions with cashless bail policies. Seattle's going to be on another list. Wow. I think we're going for not the trifecta, not the quadfecta, however many fectas there can be. That's what we're going to be on every list possible because we suck so bad. The order instructs the administration to identify federal funds currently provided to cashless bail jurisdictions that may be suspended or terminated. Cashless bail policies allow dangerous individuals to immediately return to the streets and further endanger law-abiding, hardworking Americans because they know our laws will not be enforced. They cite some data on this. A 2023 study out of Yolo County. Yolo County! Woo! You only live once! Woo! Found that its zero bail policy resulted in 163% more crime, 200% more violent crime compared to those who posted bail. Last year, a suspected Tren de Aragua gang member freed without bail after an attempted murder in New York was rearrested for drug trafficking in Miami, released again before finally being arrested and held for alleged sex trafficking of a minor. A repeat offender, arrested 6 times a year, was released without bail after his most recent arrest. At the time, he had 47 priors, 28 convictions for preying on New Yorkers. By the way, you know that the New York system was based on the failed Seattle system, and they had no evidence whatsoever to back it up, but they pushed it through anyway. Do you remember this insanity? The bad policies of this country really do start here. This is the cradle of stupidity here in the Pacific Northwest. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from our frenemy, Bennett the protester. Bennett, you still have to get back to me about when you and your buddies want to come on and talk about transplants.
Definitely. Gosh, I do this to me every time, and I'm on hold, and I can't possibly keep up. And Mamdani is not getting funded by Qatar for his campaign. Number 2, he never said globalize the Intifada. Number 3, post office is about 10 times cheaper than FedEx and UPS. Just for the record,
you get what you pay for at the post office, sir. You get what you pay for. Yes. What did you actually call to talk about? I know you called to talk about something not related to any of that. What's on your mind today?
I know. One of these days, I should just call and be like, okay, just put me on the hold, and I'll just argue with him about everything he says in the 15 minutes before I get through on the phone.
Okay.
And we can do that, too.
All right. What's up, man?
All right. So you were talking about vaccines yesterday, and this has come up before, but I think it's important to address the confusion every time. You're like, why should we trust them? Because they said the vaccine would stop the spread. Okay, so when the CDC, the old CDC, before RFK Jr. got his claws in it, when they said, the vaccine will stop the spread, that means that reduces the exponential growth in the number of people.
That is not what Jay Inslee said. That is not what Washington officials said. They literally said it will stop the spread. They literally said, if you get it, you're protected. Fauci literally said that. Now, I will grant you that the documents they were basing it on did not say they agreed with you, Bennett. They did agree with you. Unfortunately, the people who were the public faces of this were not saying what was in the documents. So I will agree with you that the science you're talking about may be correct, but that was not what these people were saying.
But I think that's what they mean when they say stop the spread. It doesn't mean that you are 100% guaranteed not to get
but now we have a problem, Bennett. Now we have a problem. Because now you're saying, what do I think they meant by this? Are we having a Talmudic discussion here? Are we analyzing something that was written in the 18th century? What do we think that Shakespeare meant when he wrote this? No, it should be, we have a health crisis. Here's what you do. Here's what you don't do. They had the documents to back up actually stuff that followed the science, but that wasn't what they were saying.
But the recommendation would have been the same even if you misinterpreted it that way. If you happen to think that they meant it 100% protected you, then get the vaccine. But even if you knew that they meant it was only like 95% effective, obviously the conclusion would still be to get the vaccine too. And that's why I don't think it's a very strong argument against a mandate, because you were saying, you were saying this yesterday, like, why do they have a mandate when you know it's only 95% effective? Well, if you have healthcare
Whoa, I didn't say it was, first of all, it is not 95% effective. We know that, right? Right?
I thought that's what you were saying that they claimed in the document.
No.
That they were.
At the time I was looking at it, hang on, I'm doing this from memory. I don't have it in front of me. I'm going to give you another minute or so, then I got to run. But basically, what the document was saying is we're seeing all these breakthrough cases, and then what we're seeing is the breakthrough cases are outnumbering, and they're growing and growing and growing and growing and growing. And this was months before the mandate even came out. So, like my point is, they had this material in front of them. They had the scientific facts in front of them. And 6 months after they had this document, and Inslee did see it, 6 months after this, they did the mandate. That's my problem.
Yeah, but I mean, even if a vaccine is only 95% effective, and if you go back and look at the articles, they're talking about the rates of COVID breakouts between vaccinated versus unvaccinated people.
First of all, I don't grant your premise. Nobody said they were 95% effective, and I'm not basing this on articles. I'm basing this from the scientific letters they were writing each other about what they were seeing. Whatever the mainstream media or whatever the conservative media or whatever the liberal media, whatever they want to write is one thing. But I actually read the documents themselves, and they said this thing isn't stopping the spread.
No, I mean, when I say articles, I mean like journal articles like JAMA.
No, these aren't that.
The rates of unvaccinated people getting infected are just something like 15 to 17 times higher. So 95% is not that far off as a ballpark figure for how effective
I would say this. Let's try to end on a note we agree on, okay? How many of the politicians you think actually understood what they were reading?
I think they understood that if the vaccine is effective enough, that's a strong argument for a mandate for it. That's what I'm saying, is that even if whether the vaccine is 80 or 100% effective, even assuming it's less than 95, that's still an argument in favor of a mandate. If you're working with vulnerable people, you should be required to do whatever is necessary to reduce the risk to those vulnerable people as much as possible. That means, hypothetically, even if it was only 80% effective, that's still an argument in favor of a mandate that you should get it if you're a healthcare worker.
Right, but I think that I would argue that the data you are using to justify that is not accurate, because in the forms I have seen, in the medical forms I have seen, it was nowhere near close to that. And all these accommodations they made, for example, the fire department, this is part of the major lawsuit going on right now, all the precautions they took made it so nobody was getting it from firefighters. So the mandate in that case isn't effective, and it's not necessary. But I don't think you and I are going to end up agreeing on this. Appreciate the conversation. You have yourself a wonderful weekend, buddy. When we come back, lots more to discuss as the show continues. How long is the National Guard sticking around in D.C.? Their time is almost up. We going to extend? We going to go somewhere else? We going to take this show on the road? We'll talk about it when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Not always enjoyed high approval ratings. In fact, quite the opposite. 55%, that's a pretty big deal. You know what's driving it? Making America safe again. People actually like being safe in their streets. They actually like walking along the streets. And now we get into a weird, politically gray area. What did Ronald Reagan say? Government is not going to solve your problem. Government is the problem. Well, now you got a whole bunch of conservatives looking to the federal government. Come help us. Come save us. That's the question I put out to the audience all the time. Do you want to see the National Guard here in Seattle? Do you want to see the National Guard in Tacoma? Do you want to see the National Guard in King County? Do you want to see the National Guard in Washington? Give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. To my friends on the left, I ask the question. If you are opposed to this, and I will grant you, there are some constitutional questions surrounding all this. I will grant you that. How do you propose to solve the problem of the crime in the streets if the Democrats who are elected here are the ones who are causing it? Give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. What are the other things that are driving this poll? The secure border. So what are the Democrats yelling about? They're yelling about Washington, D.C. and the National Guard. They're yelling about Chicago. They're yelling about being safe. They want more crime. Give us more crime. We want it. Give us the crime. Well, we know they want the open borders. This is what is driving this approval rating. Because it doesn't take new investments to solve the crime problem. It doesn't take new investments to solve the homeless problem. It doesn't take new investments to solve the drug problem. It takes the will to actually do it. Look, there's a lot of things I want to do in this life, and some of them I haven't accomplished because I'm lazy and I haven't done them. I can't blame anybody else for that. Here, when you're not enforcing the law and you're not prosecuting people, you're not arresting people, and you're releasing people all the time, you're going to have these problems on the streets. When you are funding drug addicts, you are going to have problems with crime, problems with homelessness. You are going to have all of it. What we have realized from what has happened in Washington, D.C., is being a crime-ridden, drug-infested city is a choice. And Democrats have chosen not to enforce the law. And in doing so, they have made Donald Trump powerful. Because all he does is he goes, oh, you want to let your kids play in the parks? Yeah, we'll make that happen. Oh, you want to walk to the grocery store? You want to walk to a restaurant and not get mugged? Yeah, we can make that happen. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line, take a call from John in Buckley. John, what's going on?
Hey, Ari. My problem with the National Guard being deployed is constitutionally, I don't believe it's allowable.
Mm-hmm.
I would just like to see the laws we have on the books enforced. I'm moving from, I don't know what you want to call it, felony way, federal out of the way. I'm moving from there to Buckley.
Wait, hang on. I'm stealing that. I've never heard that before. Felony way. That's very, very good, John.
But I went to the mayor's office the other day because I drove by something that has been gnawing at me for years. He's on vacation. Granted, politicians need vacations as well. But there are so many laws that go unenforced. If they would just enforce the laws, I think people might change their habits.
You know, I agree with everything. I agree with everything you're saying, John. I completely agree with it. The problem is that they're not actually doing it. I agree there are constitutional problems. You have heard me say there are constitutional problems with this. But then we got an issue. So what's our solution? If the Democrats swore to uphold the law, swore to protect the Constitution, they all took that oath, right? And they're not doing it. What is the solution? And I know we say voting and whatever, but there has to be something to make them do this. And I'm not saying it's the National Guard. Right now, I don't have a solution. I'll give you the last word, though, because other people want to weigh in.
Well, and I would agree with you. It is voting. It is not letting the letter behind the candidate's name make you vote. It's actually reading and finding out which of the politicians believe what you do and voting for them.
Yeah,
so
I agree. Like, look what's happening in Seattle, John. Look what's happening in Seattle, where you literally have a choice between two terrible candidates. Neither one of them will enforce the law because neither one of them has enforced the law. Exactly right. Appreciate where you're coming from, John. Have good luck with that move, all right? Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. Hear from the 206. Oh, I love all the Seattle people. I got a whole bunch of 206 texts here. Definitely, yes. Yes, National Guard in Seattle. I'm seeing how do Seattle people feel about this? We go back to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line, take a call from Sherry in Enumclaw. Sherry, what's up?
Hi, Ari. I just want to tell you first off, I love your show.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, I do want to see the National Guard here. I think things are totally out of hand when people are just walking out, not even going to, there's no there's no, people are walking out of jail without even having to serve time. It's just a free for all. And
Yeah.
it's not going to, I don't see it getting any better unless we do something like this.
You know, the saddest text.
I want to see armed people.
Yeah, the saddest text I get from my daughter today. I got these from my boys before they went off to college and gap years and stuff. My daughter sends me a text today on her way home from school, and it had video in it of people literally setting up a homeless encampment near our house. And she goes, "Look, Dad, this is being set up right here." Mike, normally your kids go, "Look at the funny poster I saw," or something like that. Instead, these are the texts I get from my kids.
And that's sad. I think that our voting system is broken. And as long as I think that people would vote and vote differently if they had faith in it. But I don't think anybody's got faith in on our mail-in ballot system. I just don't think that the people I talk to don't. And if we had a different system, I think people would come out and people would say, yes, I'm going to do something about it now. But a lot of people are just like, it isn't working, so I'm not even going to vote.
Yeah, that's the voter disenfranchisement, which is why at the Washington State Fair, the Pierce County GOP has those ballot initiatives you can sign to get voter ID as a requirement here in Washington. I can't believe we even have to do this, but yeah, we're going to do it. And don't forget, me and Mike are going to be out at the fair on Monday, I think from around 4-ish at the KVI booth till around 9:30 at night. So we'll be out there if you want to come see us. Sherry, appreciate the kind words, appreciate the call, appreciate the perspective, appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, good news out of Tacoma of ending some crazy lefty policies. We'll give you all details when we come back, plus more of your texts and more of your calls. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Some good news in the war against the awful things that are being done to kids. Mary Bridge Children's Hospital announced that its Gender Health Clinic, which is by far not an accurate name for it, let's just call it the Children Slice and Dice Clinic, will cease providing gender health medical services. It's not health. It's not health if you have to have treatments for the rest of your life that do not help your mental health status. I'm tired of the way every single news outlet in town reported it. That's not what it is. It's not gender affirming. Stop. It is child mutilation. That is what it is. Unbelievable. The change affects Mary Bridge Gender Care Clinic, which has provided the controversial procedures since 2015. The clinic does not perform surgeries, but has offered puberty blockers and hormone therapy. Multicare said in a statement on August 4th to the News Tribune that it would no longer keep a wait list as we assess the changing federal expectations around our provision of medical interventions. Intervention! What are we intervening in? Them living a healthy, productive lifestyle? Unbelievable. Current patients already prescribed medications will continue receiving them. Yeah, because you already screwed them up. We don't even know the long-term effects this is going to have on kids. Well done, everybody. Well, at least the thing's being shut down. I mean, really, this is just... These places all need to be shut down. Look, you want to do stuff to yourself when you're older? We don't let you get a tattoo when you're under 18. You know, when my daughter wants to go, like, get her nails done and things like that, you need parent permission to go to a lot of these things. But no, you want to chop off a piece of your anatomy? No problem. Kelly in Seattle on the text line says, yes, I would like to see the National Guard here. Our local politicians swear to keep their citizens safe. Our military takes an oath that they will defend the citizens from all enemies, foreign and domestic. If our politicians refuse to protect the citizens, then they are the criminals, and that makes them enemies of the state. Intense, Kelly. I like it. Chris from Federal Way is mad at me. He doesn't like that they called it Felony Way. Oh, ha ha. Let's make fun of Federal Way. Hell of a lot safer than Seattle or even snobby Mercer Island. You guys suck. Chris, come on, man. I bash Seattle where I live every single day. When I'm not bashing Seattle, I make fun of how Tacoma smells. That's what us Seattle people, I'm told, are supposed to do. That's just what I'm told. But guys, come on, man. Come on, little sense of humor. Maybe?
Also, though,
yes.
Yo Dude needs to spend more time at the intersection of 21st and 336, and you tell me how safe Federal Way is. I lived there for 15 years.
Exactly.
I'm glad to be away from it.
Exactly. So there's that. And let's not forget, Mike, you remember, what was it, 2 years ago? They had all the issues with the King County health vans showing up and giving out all the drugs to the people around there. And we were having the business owners on, and we were having the mayor on, we were having everybody on to talk about this problem on the regular. So come on, have a sense of humor, Chris.
Now, granted, I would say that the SeaTac Mall has significantly less shootings per capita than, say, the South Center Mall.
Sure.
But that doesn't make it entirely safe either.
Right, exactly. Seward Park, safer than downtown Seattle. Doesn't mean it's that great, though, I'll tell you that. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends, when we come back. Looks like Hawaii is jumping on Washington's stupid bandwagon regarding this vaccine insanity. We'll talk about it when we come back. You'll listen to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, more trouble for the light rail. Not just money, now public safety issues are creeping back again. But before we get to any of that, time to talk about the Rona again.
We are going to die.
We are going to die. You're going to die. I'm going to die. We're all going to die. Just not today.
Just one day after Oregon, Washington, and California announced the creation of a new health alliance, the state of Hawaii is now joining their coalition. This is from Coin out of Portland, Oregon. You know what I remember today? I had completely forgotten about this during COVID. Do you remember there was a school somewhere in the middle of Washington where they were so serious about the COVID restrictions that they got those personalized shower tents that you take camping with you, and they put the band members inside the personalized shower tents, these little green tent things that are for single occupancy. They put all the high school kids of the band inside the tents, inside the classroom, so they wouldn't spread the Rona. Do you remember this insanity? My favorite picture of that craziness was the bigger kid, shall we say the huskier fella, who had a tuba. The tuba barely fit inside the tent. The kid barely fit inside the tent. But now we're going to squeeze both of them inside the tent together, because that way you're protected. Okay. So here's what happens. You get the first shot, you're not protected. You get the second shot, you're not protected. You get 30 boosters for 20 years, you're still not protected. What we got to do is we got to get you the shower cover. We put the shower cover around you and your tuba, and then you're protected. Do you remember this stupidity? So now you think the fools in Washington, California, Oregon, and Hawaii are going to take care of your health needs? You think they care about your health at all? No! In a joint release announcing Hawaii's inclusion, the four governors, now including Hawaii Governor Josh Green, cited the mass firings of CDC doctors and scientists, as well as the politicization of the agency as an impetus to create the alliance. You're telling me the CDC wasn't politicized before this? You had a kid with a tuba in a tent. You're telling me the CDC wasn't politicized before this? It's a government agency. Of course it was politicized. I am becoming a bigger fan of Senator Kennedy more and more every single day. Did you see the back and forth between him and Elizabeth Warren yesterday?
I never promised that I was going to recommend products for which there is no indication.
When you said...
And I know you've taken $855,000 from pharmaceutical companies, Senator.
You know what I would love? If politicians actually wore jumpsuits like NASCAR drivers, so you know who they were sponsored by. They have to have all the sponsor logos on them. Elizabeth Warren, Democratic Senator from Massachusetts, sponsored by Pfizer. I think that would be the way to go. I think that's, you know what I think we should do on C-SPAN? I think we should petition for this. On C-SPAN, anytime they talk and it's got their name on the chyron underneath them and it says who they are, I think it should say who their donors are. I think it should just start listing them. Like in Back to the Future 2. You know when Marty McFly is on the big screen and he's talking to the Jits, his boss, as he calls him, and it's listing his likes, his dislikes, when he's talking to Needles, lists his wife, I think it should start listing the sponsors. That's what I think. So, Governor Turd Ferguson says the new alliance will align public health recommendations across the 4 states, ensuring that decisions are informed by trusted scientists, clinicians, and public health leaders. Do you still think that cutting off a kid's anatomy is good for them? Do you? Do you now? Then I don't believe a word you say. Do you still believe you can get the Rona if you're in a bar at 10:01 but not at 9:59? Do you still believe that you have to get up and put that mask on when you go to the bathroom, but you can sit in the restaurant just fine, no problem, with an airborne virus? Do you still believe you can riot in the streets, but you can't go to a funeral or a wedding? But you can have a march for racial justice, right? Give me a break. Give me a break. These guys are so full of it. They just don't want anybody else telling them what to do. And you know what? They can do this stupidity, but they're doing it so they can crack down on you. Let's not forget, in the legislative session this time around, Washington Democrats basically made it that they can force whatever they want on you in terms of a vaccine for the rest of your life. And they're ignoring science. They're ignoring herd immunity. They're also ignoring something that's been in place for years. Do you know that herd immunity for a school is around 70 to 75%? Do you know why that is? They have baked into the cake that there are people with religious exemptions. There are people who have allergic reactions to vaccines. These things do happen. These things do exist. But they have determined that 70 to 75% is what you need to reach herd immunity. We were at 70 to 75% of people getting COVID before the vaccines even came out, and they mandated them on us anyway. And they ditched the fact that if you've had COVID, you don't need the vaccine because the antibodies you get from having COVID are much more potent than whatever you're getting in the vaccine. Natural immunity works better. They threw all that out the window. This was the craziest headline I saw with regards to all this. MSNBC aired a discussion suggesting that pandemic-era isolation and online video gaming could have played a role in radicalizing young people toward violence following the Catholic school shooting in Minneapolis. National security analyst Christopher O'Leary claimed that factors ranging from family breakdown to the gamification of culture are increasingly cited by security professionals as pathways to extremist thinking. Are we back to blaming video games again? Are we really doing this again? This is dumb. All right, Mike, let's go through the games we probably played. You and I are close in age. So we definitely played the Doom, right? We both played the Doom? Yes. Nodding, yes, you played the Doom. Okay, Duke Nukem 3D. Are you more prone to go to strip joints? Oh, wait, you like the honka-honka now. Yes. Are you more prone to shoot aliens?
Yes.
Should have even brought it up. Are you more prone to killing aliens with shotguns now that you've played Duke Nukem 3D? Maybe throwing some pipe bombs at people? No. Okay. Exactly. But yeah, it's the video games, right? Yeah, I know because I play Halo with my kids. I am more inclined to get, you know what I should do, Mike? Oh my God, I didn't even think of this. I should take the Jeep that our friends over at rented Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram gave me, take all the roof accessories off it, and just mount a 50 cal on the back of it and go. Are you kidding me, guys? Really? This is the insanity. It's the video games. It's the video games. First of all, if you want to make the video game point, you could say, and this would have a little bit more merit, it's the online communications you're having during the video games where you might get radicalized. I'd still make fun of you, but at least you would sound like you know what you're talking about rather than the video games did it. Oh, you know what? He might be right, Mike. I watch Star Wars a lot, and I always want to grab a stick and fight my friend with lightsabers because of it. I don't cut anybody's hand off, though. Right? I didn't cut anybody's head off with it, though. Oh, give me a break. He said whether it's a terrorist organization. Oh, the 9/11 hijackers. That must be what it is. Yes, they saw the guy at the end of Independence Day fly his airplane into that alien spaceship. They saw the director's cut where he did it with a crop duster and not an F-18, right? Or F-16, whatever they were flying in that movie. And that's why they did 9/11, right? Whether it's a terrorist organization or a variety of ideologies that different people follow, they're following them because they have susceptibility. Okay, that's not wrong. Maybe it's some kind of mental break. Wait, are you admitting what we have been saying all week about the mental break in the trans community? Maybe it's their life has gone down the toilet, yes, and they have no hope. Maybe it's bad parenting, a variety of things. So far, I'm on the same thing with you. He pointed specifically to COVID-19 lockdowns as a turning point. The effects of COVID and the isolation and what's called the gamification influence, where young men are growing up being raised by video games, all of those things are involved in really people mobilizing towards violence more routinely. You had me for a minute until you got to the video game silliness. COVID isolation, yeah, made a lot of people crazy. Don't you have friends that have gotten more radical? Mike, I don't know if you have this. I have some friends. Whether they were on the left or the right, since COVID kind of broke them, and they become the more extreme versions of themselves. Have you seen that? It's not an age thing. This is a COVID thing. You know what I'm talking about.
Well, I was going to say, I've, to your point earlier, I've seen a lot of my friends become more radical after finding Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. Now they can't stay off their skateboards, and they're always doing half pipes, being super radical with their
tubular and radical.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, exactly. Sick and rad
and all that stuff.
All that other stuff. Don't even get me started on Crazy Taxi. That's something else entirely.
Oh, Crazy Taxi, yes. Because I drove in Crazy Taxi. In fact, I did the sit-down version in an arcade.
Oh,
that makes me want to just plow through people in the street, right?
Exactly.
Yes. I love that stupid game.
It's great. Yeah, great soundtrack.
Yeah, that's a great game. I do
absolutely,
love it.
Absolutely. But I think there is a certain degree of mental effects left over from COVID. Like, Ari, I've shared this with you in the office before. Like, one of my weird post-COVID things that I've picked up is I have this bizarre sense of, like, social anxiety when there's like too many people near me because I worked in an office by myself for 2 years, and then suddenly everybody came back to work, and I couldn't handle it because I had gotten so acclimated to having that workspace to myself. And now, even today, there's too many people over here. Go away. I'm going to go hide in the studio for a while. It's just too much.
You know, when you talk about the environment, I think you've kind of rubbed off on me. Because I'm the guy who's like, people! Yes! There are people around! And I don't know, relatively recently, it's more like, why are all you people around? Go far, far away. Now, I'm not talking about the KVI listeners. It's something about when I'm working.
Yes.
When I'm working, it fries my brain when too many people are around. And I think I got used to during COVID also. Like, even when my kids came in the room, I started snapping a little bit, just like because I was so used to the isolation. So you're right. That may be something that's left over because of that.
Well, and I think we as Gen X and Gen X adjacent folks, it's like we're accustomed to a certain degree of isolation. Like, you know, like I kind of returned to my latchkey kid roots during COVID of just being like, oh yeah, I'll just, you know, come back from school, watch cartoons by myself, make sure to do my homework, make myself some dinner and all that stuff, and try to not get in trouble or anything like that. And yeah, I think COVID was kind of like a weird regression for folks of a certain age, and if a lot of folks are kind of in my same age bracket, I would wonder if they've run into that as well with like the weird social anxieties and weird stuff that, you know, getting back to isolationism and then having to readjust. Like now we're at a spot where like the tech workers are now clogging the streets again.
Yeah.
Ari, I miss the days where I could just drive 90 miles an hour down 4th Avenue because I'm driving like the Omega Band, like there's like nobody in the city.
Yes.
And there's a part of me that kind of misses that a little bit.
I miss that too. And I'm just thinking to myself how, yeah, that was really nice, blowing at a gajillion miles an hour down the streets. In fact, my wife called me. She's in New York right now, hanging out with her sisters and stuff. And she said, was it normal when we lived in New York for people to drive like maniacs? And I said, yes, but usually they're from New Jersey. I said, yes, that is usually the case. And she goes, no, you don't understand. Like on the highway, they're weaving between people. I go, what you're seeing is the after effects of COVID and defund the police, where they know nobody's going to pull them over. So it used to be they were a little bit more restricted. Now they just don't care, which is why I drive in the HOV lane all the time or the bus lanes all the time, unless there's a camera or something, because who's going to pull me over? Really, who's going to do it? I'm not encouraging you to do that. That is my own personal mishigas. But yeah, I totally hear what some people are saying about the isolationism. However, the video games, this one here from Mike Kerb over on the text line, back in the 40s and 50s, people blamed comic books for society's ills. Yes, they did. It's always something else to blame than society. Was there an epidemic of people going up to the roof and jumping off to be like Superman? Was that what we're talking about? They like to blame this kind of stuff, which is beyond insane. Absolutely insane. Yeah, so you're going to blame that for this shooter? No. How about we talk about the ideology he actually subscribed to rather than the video games? You know, there's millions of people who play video games. Kevin, Mr. KVI, sent us an article today. about how Hollywood is now looking to video games for ideas rather than superheroes and comic books. There are millions, hundreds of millions of people who play video games. Do we have hundreds of millions of school shooters out there? No, we don't. It's not the video games. There are other things. This guy was saying all the right stuff at the beginning, which is why when I first heard this clip, I'm like, yes, oh no, don't go there, don't do that. Because you're right, susceptible people will be susceptible to anything. Unbelievable. This is my favorite part. You ready? You also see people get radicalized solely on these video games through headsets. Okay, Mike, I'm getting radicalized by the minute because I'm wearing a headset every single day. I'm getting more and more radicalized.
I just ordered a skateboard off of Amazon, and I'm going to do a half pipe because, yeah, same thing. Just I'm radicalized from my headphones.
Yeah,
here.
that's what it is. It's the headphones. They're radicalizing me. That's got to be it. Hang on a second. Both my kids wear the silly headphones. It's so that they, you know what it is? It's so they don't have the phone between their shoulder and their ear while they're playing the stupid game while they're talking to people. Oh, give me a break. The people who are trying to get into this and blame it on this stupidity have no idea what they are talking about. No clue whatsoever. Now, there is some truth to the fact that isolationism, people who are predisposed to being brainwashed a certain way or another, may be influenced by certain things, but you're not talking about, oh, they put an M on a video game for all the alien blood and gore. That's going to do it. If you truly believe that, how come more kids aren't becoming baseball players because they play MLB The Show? How come more kids aren't becoming football players because they play Madden? I find it's usually the people that don't make the team that are the ones playing MLB The Show and Madden. Let's take me for a minute. What were the games I liked? I liked the car driving things. I liked the plane things. Did I become a pilot? Did I become a NASCAR driver? Did I become a crazy taxi driver? Did I become a giant truck driver? No, I didn't do any of those things. It's because you're living your life vicariously through escapism. I always come back to that. I always come back to the most absurd example I could think of. Am I flying an X-Wing all the time? Well, maybe if they had X-Wings, I'd actually get to do the trench run over on the Death Star. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends. When we come back, Sound Transit may be about to become more dangerous, on top of not being able to finish the trains to nowhere. I'll tell you all about it when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, coming up at 5:45, your chance to win fantabulous prizes, including a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card. Yeah, another reason, always keep your radio tuned to 570 KVI. Left on your dial, always right on the issues. You can also stream us at KVI.com. Download the KVI app, and, of course, subscribe on whatever your preferred podcast platform is. Up, text of the day right here from our friend Matt G. He says in the 20s, they blamed the unrest in the streets on the apparel choices at the time. There were riots. The Zoot Suit riots. Oh, very good, Matt. Very, very good. I like that one. Very, very good. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line. Take a call from Robert in Woodinville. Robert, what's going on?
Hey, just listening to you, and I was reminded that when we were growing up, I don't know how old you are, but I'm back 50s and 60s, the thing was cartoon violence.
Cartoon violence, Bugs Bunny. Yes, Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck. Him and Elmer Fudd. It's going to make you go into the woods and go duck season, wabbit season, right?
Well, the thing is, how many times did Wile E. Coyote get blown up, buried, smashed?
Robert, let me ask you this. Have you ever bought an anvil from Acme?
Oh, of course not.
How about dynamite? Do you just carry dynamite? You know, I thought from my childhood that quicksand would be a much bigger thing than it actually is. Have you ever seen quicksand before? I don't see quicksand anywhere.
Nope.
No. Oh, great call, Robert. Appreciate the sense of humor. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757.
Hey, Ari, I don't. Robert was kind of onto something there because, you know, you go back to those Looney Tunes cartoons and. You know what? That Bugs Bunny put on a dress and a wig an awful lot also. Lest we forget.
Oh, that's caused the trans movement. That's what it. Wait, Mike, we missed something. We missed something here. I know. I always want to be an opera singer because for some reason, violence and it just you become an opera singer, right? I know tons of people who became opera singers. Everything I know about opera came from Bugs Bunny. Yes. Yes, the cartoons definitely influenced all of this. I got a better question for you. So Donald Duck comes out of the shower. That guy walks around with no pants. Why does he put on a towel when he comes out of the shower? I mean, questions for the ages that will never be answered.
He never puts on pants. He's just running around in a shirt.
Yes.
Could you imagine living life that way? Shirt, no pants. Actually, at a time where I'm wearing my 12th man Seahawks jersey today,
yes.
That sounds kind of pleasant, actually. it goes a little more, it's got more length to it than my average T-shirt.
Yes, but, we all want to be the Donald Duck. Just, going commando, just freeing it everywhere, right?
He's got a hat.
A hat, a shirt, no pants. Meanwhile, speaking of people with no pants, you see a lot of people with no pants on the light rail. I mean, we've seen this before, right? I'm not joking. That is real. That's not a rim shot. Anyway, the light rail. So apparently King County security officers might be going on strike. According to King 5, nearly 5,000 security officers across King County stationed at the airport, on public transit, and in local tech companies are preparing for a possible strike. Leaders of SEIU, of course it's SEIU, the union representing the workers, warned that a strike could have serious consequences for public safety, particularly on Seattle area transit systems. Can you imagine if the police could go on strike? Yeah. So now, like I predicted, every single group in Washington is going to go on strike because now they can get unemployment from your tax dollars. Deputy Director of SEIU says it's workers that kind of go unnoticed, right, and unseen until you need them. He says officers' responsibilities go beyond monitoring, often putting them in positions of de-escalating dangerous situations. So I have a question. SEIU 6, aren't you guys on the left? Aren't you guys the ones who supported all of the policies that got us to this place? I'm sorry, I don't have any sympathy for you at all. This union is the one that always goes out and backs the most radical candidates. It's always the one that goes out and says, you're not being compassionate to homeless people. Leave them on the streets without pants. So really? This is what you guys? At the center of the labor dispute, it has nothing to do with drugs. It has nothing to do with what they're dealing with. It has to do with pay, as always. They even say this themselves. On Friday, union members unanimously voted to reject the latest employer proposal, which included a 30-cent raise in the first year. Now, I don't know what they're getting paid. I don't know what their raise is supposed to be. I don't know anything about that, but I can say, you guys, this is your own fault. The working conditions you have to suffer under are because your union voted or backed the politicians that voted for a lot of this stuff. So I'm sorry, I don't have any sympathy for you. Normally I would, but when are you guys going to say enough from your union? When are you going to take back the union and say no more of this craziness? We're not voting for this stuff anymore. That's what I recommend you do. Also, now every single politician is trying to weigh in on the Sound Transit thing because they all want to be the ones who said, we save Sound Transit. Yeah, I don't think we should be doing this. On Thursday, Sound Transit Board Vice Chair and King County Councilmember Claudia Balducci talked about making a big swing at a budget shortfall and eliminating plans for a second transit tunnel through downtown. Question: aren't you one of the people responsible for getting us into this position? Aren't you one of the people who was on the Sound Transit Board? Aren't you one of the people who mismanaged the funds and got us to this place? She suggested formally during a sparsely attended executive committee meeting, according to Como News, that the agency conduct a feasibility study to eliminate the tunnel from the planned light rail expansion. In an interview with Como News, Balducci explained that she believes it could cut $8 to $11 billion from the expansion costs. Great. That's wonderful. How about we cut the rest of it? How about we just stop? Because once you've pulled up the tracks, 3, 4, 5, 10 times over Lake Washington, at what point do you realize the people running this should not be running it? This is what happened when you put career politicians in charge of this. This is what happens when you put people who've never had a real job in their lives in charge of this. It's not the people building the thing. They're going off the plans of the people above them. This is just sad at this point. So this is the new plan. Let's cut this and not that. Oh, we're going to save all this money. At this point, I'm just wondering, why are we building more tracks for this light rail for the homeless? You know what's going to happen is that as soon as this thing opens, all the homeless from Seattle going to be heading on out to the east side. They're going to be moving on up out to Mercer Island. Yes, that's what they're going to be doing. Moving out to Bellevue. I'm sure it'll be fun for all of them, right? Right? Switching gears now. Remember yesterday, Bob Ferguson came out with this report from the Office of Financial Management here in Washington. The office that still hasn't done a financial impact on all of Bob Ferguson's new taxes, all of the Democrats' record-breaking taxes, the ones that Bob Ferguson signed that are the largest tax increase in Washington state history, over $9 billion in new taxes. Well, now, apparently, they're trying to blame Trump's tariffs for this. And we tore that apart yesterday. We had Travis Couture on, who tore that apart yesterday. I mean, basically what's happening is the turd is trying to blame all the things he and his Democrat buddies did on Donald Trump. That's what they're trying to do right now. This is just going to be their go-to for the rest of life. Well, how is it Donald Trump's fault that now some Washington businesses will have to start charging new sales taxes? That's not Donald Trump's fault. And gross substitute Senate bill ESSB 5814, which adds new business activities to the definition of retail sales, was passed by the Washington State Legislature earlier this year. The retail sales tax now includes services such as advertising, live presentations, custom website development. Oh, you mean a lot of tech stuff? Because you're going after the tech sector? Gee, why do you think they're laying off all these tech workers here in Washington? This is a real head scratcher, isn't it? I can't figure out why they're laying off all these people here, but not in other parts of the country. Why is it always here? Oh, right. Because here is where they have the high earner tax. Here is where they have all the tech taxes. Here's where they go after all the tech businesses. This is the place. And because it's all here, they're trying to tax it as much as they can. These Democrats are killing the golden goose. And these Democrats aren't responsible at all with their money. This from the Daily News. After repeated delays, more than $30 million spent and little to show for it, a decade-long effort to upgrade the state's antiquated workers' compensation system has been put on hold. Last week, WATEC, the state's Information Technology Oversight Office, suspended all project activities and expenditures for the $292 million upgrade due to a continued lack of progress and ability to execute by the State Department of Labor and Industries, according to a WATEC memo on the state IT dashboard. Since 2015, Labor and Industries has worked to modernize the aging technology used to manage medical claims by workers injured on the job. You want to tell me why that cost $292 million? I've worked for a lot of companies, and the thing I've found is when they blow money like this, it's always because they felt they could create their own database entry program or their own system rather than somebody like Salesforce or Microsoft or something. They didn't want to go to them. They hired somebody's nephew to design the thing, and then the guy goes, I need more server space, so you know what, I need to hire a crew, or I need to do this. So rather than go to Microsoft, who spent the $292 million developing whatever software it is, they go, we're going to reinvent the wheel. We're going to come up with WaTech. That's what we're going to do. We're going to come up with our own dashboard. At the end of the day, they are always junkier and clunkier than whatever Microsoft or whatever other tech company came up with. A decade later, the upgrade hasn't left the planning stages. So tell me what you spent $292 million on. If you want to know why they're raising our taxes, is because of programs like this. Who's actually watching any of this? Do we have a comptroller? Do we have accountants? How about lawmakers? Why is nobody paying attention to any of this? So after all this money, they're no closer to being done. Critics, including employees and third-party experts, blame the lack of progress in part on L&I's indecisive management, sagging morale, and unusually high turnover, including at least 6 project directors since 2019. Another factor, a long-standing dispute between Labor and Industries and WaTech, which oversees many state IT projects, including several L&I employees and outside experts familiar with the project. By the way, you want to know how incompetent Labor and Industries was? When I used to have to deal with them for my event rental company, and I would have to call them or I'd have to email them, they didn't even know which division to talk to. Didn't even know which division. Oh, I don't know about that. I don't know. Can you call back and maybe somebody else will answer the phone? I was literally told that one time. With the upgrade officially on hold and the state facing a budget shortfall, again, some critics think it shouldn't be restarted without a complete rethink and possibly new leadership. Representative Travis Couture said we've been this boondoggle for years and years, spending tens of millions of dollars and landing absolutely nowhere. He said if my project was at Lockheed Martin, I would have been fired 10 times by now. Exactly right. Governor Bob Ferguson said his office will work closely with WaTech and L&I to get this project on track. Turd Ferguson's coming. I know his solution. Turd Ferguson's solution is going to be, let's tax everybody for it. That's what we're going to do. Texas. Yeah, he's just Prince John in the Robin Hood movie going through the coins. Texas. That's him. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends. When we come back, a journalist from Chicago is going to tell us whether or not they actually need the National Guard there. After that, we got Fake News Friday with young Zach. Put a smile on your face heading into the weekend. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. My friends, years ago, my grandparents lived near Chicago. They lived in one of the outer suburbs. It's actually called Highland Park. That's where they filmed all the places that take place in Shermer, Illinois. That's right, all the John Hughes movies. In fact, Cameron Fry's house, right near my grandparents' house. Why is this relevant at all? Because I remember going to Chicago as a kid, enjoying Chicago as a kid, and now it seems like all reports, all data points to the fact of the place being a crime hellscape. But the question is, should the National Guard be sent in? Joining us now to discuss on the Warrior Injury Law studio line is Mark Vargas, who's the editor-in-chief of the Illinois Review. Thanks so much for being with us today.
My honor. Thank you for having me.
You know, I know, Mark, when people talk about Seattle in the national news, I get a little prickly because I say to myself, you people have no idea what's going on here. So let me ask you, you're around that area. What do you want to happen?
President Trump needs to deploy the National Guard because Chicago is a war zone. Think about this. Over Labor Day weekend, 58 were shot, 8 killed. That's more shootings in one holiday weekend in the city of Chicago than in Baltimore, New York City, Philadelphia, and Washington, D.C. combined. Governor Pritzker had no problem deploying the National Guard to protect his wealthy billionaire Democrat donor friends and their VIP delegates, but he won't deploy the National Guard to protect everyday residents and moms and dads and children and babies from the war zone that is their now community. And so residents alongside me are in unison. Mr. President, send in the National Guard.
Mark, what's causing this? Is this gang violence? Is this like what we have in Seattle where it's gang violence and taxpayer-funded drug addict violence? What's actually going on here as a prolific offenders? What do you think is the major contributor of this?
Besides failed leadership by the Democratic governor and Democratic mayor, gangs are a huge problem. There is a gang war. The police are far outnumbered. The numbers that I've been seeing, we have 150,000 gang members and only 11,000 cops. But Governor Pritzker and Mayor Johnson, what they've done is they reprioritize and put a precedence of criminals over everyday law-abiding citizens. And what's interesting is Governor Pritzker likes to say this. Your listeners have probably heard this. This is a manufactured crisis. Well, consider this. 67,000 violent criminals are walking on the streets and miss their court hearing because of no cash bail. How do they know that? Because they had to send those postcards to them to say, we hope you make your next hearing. That's not a manufactured crisis. 1,600 police officers short in Chicago, resulting in over 225,000 high-priority 911 calls like shots fired, assault in progress, man with a knife, man with a gun. They went unanswered because of a police shortage. That is not a manufactured crisis. And lastly, 90,000 violent offenders are roaming the streets free. Why? Because they've never been identified or charged. That's not a manufactured crisis. You know, there's a reason why nobody robs a gun shop. The National Guard in Chicago will be there as a deterrent, and it's needed because of failed leadership has resulted in a complete and total war zone in the city of Chicago.
We're talking with Mark Vargas, who's the editor-in-chief of the Illinois Review. And Mark, just to play devil's advocate, because people say we are the most pro-devil show on the airwaves, are you worried about the precedent? If a Republican president can come in and do this, and I'm not saying it's unwarranted, but can't a Democrat president do the exact same thing if precedent has been set to come in and do it for their purposes?
The precedent has been set already. But the first job of any president of the United States, of any governor or any mayor, is to protect the people. And it's clear that Governor Pritzker and Mayor Johnson is a dereliction of duty. And I would hold Republican legislators, Republican leaders, I'd hold them accountable as too. Reducing crime, saving lives should not be a political issue. We should all be for law and order. We should all be for safer streets. This shouldn't be a red issue or a blue issue. This is a nonpartisan, non-political issue. But I think what President Trump was campaigned. He campaigned on this issue, and he won by his wide margins. And one of his top priorities was we're going to close the border. We're going to protect our cities. We're going to push migrants out of these sanctuary cities, and we're going to restore law and order to make our communities safe again. And so I think and the difference is, my last point on this, is that the residents, the people of Chicago, they agree with the president. I'll give you one example. On CNN, they did a live shot from the south side of Chicago. They were asking residents. All of the residents said, please send in the National Guard. When they replied back and said, well, what about all the statistics? It says the city is getting safer. Don't you feel safer because of the statistics? Their answer was no. Why don't you stay for more than 2 days in Chicago? Why don't you try and take your family out to restaurants, take your children out to the park? You can't. Why? Because this place is a war zone.
In the last few minutes we have with Mark Vargas, who's the editor-in-chief of the Illinois Review. Here in Seattle, it seems like the chaos is deliberate. They figure if they have more drug addicts on the street, they can fund them, they can get more of them here, they can get more funding for them, they can get people to raise the taxes on themselves, and that has worked for, I'd say, over a decade here in Seattle. Let's remember that this problem in Chicago predated the current mayor, predated the current governor. So is it just, let's keep this going so we can keep the gravy train rolling? Is it the social justice aspect of this, of nobody should be in jail, the defund the police mentality, or is it a combination of all the above plus more?
It's a combination of all the above. And let's not forget, in Chicago, since 2022, 52,000 migrants have entered the city and the governor and the mayor have welcomed them with open arms. And it's cost $3.1 billion in taxpayer money. But what's happened now? You see a shortage of services. You see communities suffering. Next year, Chicago in fiscal year 26 is looking at $1 billion deficit. What's their solution to reducing that deficit? Raise taxes on the people. But what's interesting is that eyes and ears are being opened, and residents are fully aware of what's happening, and they're not happy about it. President Trump flipped 2 very blue Democratic wards in the south side of Chicago. He flipped them red. People are waking up. And the Democrats can no longer sprinkle a little bit of assistance to them right before an election and then abandon them for the next 3.5 years. They're waking up, and it's time for them to go.
Mark Vargas, editor-in-chief of the Illinois Review, thank you so much for joining us today. Really do appreciate it.
My honor. Thank you so much.
Lots more to discuss as the show continues. When we come back, Fake News Friday, put a smile on your face heading into the weekend. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KV.
It's called fake news.
With young Zach.
Educate yourself, you fool.
On the Ari Hoffman Show. Talk Radio 570 KVI.
Well, after your first week of driving carpool again, having those kids back in school, I don't think I can make your face have a bigger smile on it. But we're going to try, because now we've got Fake News Friday.
Don't tell me the kids are in the car. I can't hear this.
Well, I'm just thinking of that commercial where the guy's dancing down the aisles of Staples because he's so happy the kids are back in school and he's got his house back to himself.
Gotcha.
That's where I'm coming from with this.
So in your mind, they're not in the car right now?
No.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah, it's
gotcha.
okay. Yeah.
All right.
Mommy, what's a staple?
Are Staples even open anymore?
I don't know. You brought it up.
Oh, that's fair. All right, what do you got for us, Zach?
That was easy.
Can I get a clown horn for that one?
Why? Because it's a button?
For the culture. For both Robs, Lakewood and Auburn.
Oh, man.
And John as well.
There you go.
Of course.
This is actually happening.
I know
People
it is
are
happening.
calling for honka honkas on the Warrior Injury Law studio text line at 206-421.
So there's a salesperson who has to go
5757.
meet with Warrior Injury Law, and they're like, what's the text line used for? Well, it's kind of a request line. So they request topics they want the guys to talk about. Well, kind of just some things they want to hear, like music.
Yeah.
Well, really just honka honkas. I'm sorry, what? Well, honka honkas.
Well, I will tease this out right here and now. I've not workshopped this with any of my friends. I'm doing some real gotcha journalism. If my Amazon delivery is to be believed,
no.
When I am at the KVI booth at the Washington State Fair for Military Appreciation Mondays coming up this Monday, I may or may not be able to do tableside honka honkas for you.
Tableside honka.
I mean, it's
Now we have to explain this to our coworkers, you realize, too, who are at the other booths going to be there with us.
Oh, my goodness.
I anticipate giving no explanations. It's a real if you know situation. But
Just a reminder, by the way, that Mike and I will be out at the Washington State Fair this coming Monday for Military Appreciation Day. We will be there from about 4-ish till about 9:30-ish this coming Monday. So come out and see us at the fair. Get your tickets now at thefair.com.
I am recovering from that. That's incredible, Mike.
And we're excited to once again be partners for Military Appreciation Mondays with the fair. It's one of my favorite times of year, and I love being mayor of the fair. I don't know about you guys, but it is very satisfying to have folks come and hang out with us and tell us what they like and more often what they don't like.
Yes.
But it is great fun time. We're going to be there with our sister stations, 101.5 Hank FM. You might even catch me cranking the Hank over the weekend.
You've been cranking the Hank and honking the honkas.
Exactly. As well as Northwest News Radio. So we're excited to share the space with them. And I think we're going to have games as well. I think we'll have the Connect Four and the Toss Across tic-tac-toe. So tons of reasons to come and hang out with us on Monday, but also this weekend as well. There'll be many honka honkas to be had.
This is incredible.
Yeah.
What do you got for us today,
Well,
Zach?
let's do some fake news. From the Babylon Bee, Navy recruitment soars after going back to blowing up pirates.
I like that one a lot. Yes.
Death, 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 horrible death.
That mildly reminds me of that time I was at a Halloween party, and it's like somebody just had a sash that says Somalia on it, and it's like, what do you think about my pirate costume? And I think that is incredibly insensitive. But I kind of like, he had like a binder full of CDs and stuff because he's pirated CDs.
I got
Very
you.
silly, very silly.
I got you.
Also from the Babylon Bee, kids beg dad to please stop referring to them as fruit of my loins.
Ew. Wait, did my kids give him that story?
Do you say that?
Occasionally.
Because if you do, you should stop.
I just like making them uncomfortable. That's something us dads do.
Gotcha.
We're not even of your loins and we're uncomfortable.
What else you got, Zach?
Nasty.
No.
Loin fruit.
Better than loin cloth. What else you got,
One
Zach?
leads to the other.
Mm-hmm.
Hunter Biden tells dad he's going to need a new boat.
I really like that one.
Because he blew up the drug boat.
I got it. That's good. That's good.
Oh, and last one from Babylon B. RFK Jr. vows to make sure chemtrails no longer contain seed oils. Get your tallow burger.
Yes. Tallow.
Tallow, can you go?
It's like, how you like that tallow burger? I mean, like, it's just beef, though, right? It's like it's very confusing. It's like, is that like a bourbon whiskey situation? Like all burgers are tallow burgers, but not all.
Not all tallow is just beef.
There you go. That's what it is. That's what it is.
Yes, I think so.
Thank you for the save there. I was drowning very quickly. What else do we got?
Another one from The Fallen, this one from The Onion. Mourners unaware they're burying knockoff Giorgio Armani.
Oh, no! No! Funny, though.
Is he bootleg?
There it is. No. They got it from my guy with the Somalia sash at Halloween.
No.
In his binder of bootleg DVDs. They were DVDs, not CDs, if I remember correctly, but still.
Oh, no.
Actual pirate.
No.
Say hi to Julie for me.
That was from Mr. Armani. Oh, this one from The Hard Times. Scientists warn Earth could fall below 50% on the tomato meter within 1 year.
Takes one bad review is all it takes.
Tell you, which that's what we're here for.
Yeah, that is true.
Mike and I tend to be the one bad review.
Yeah, be listening on Monday during The Real Deal for our review of who knows what. We might see something over the
In a
weekend.
world full of reimagined tropes, be the person who says, that movie sucked. Oh, this last one from The Needling. Sorry, not sorry. Dave Matthews Band tour clogs up the gorge to remind Cal Raleigh who the real big dumper is.
I like
Wait a
that
sec,
one.
did that show come and go? Isn't that usually like a Labor Day weekend thing? Ari, did you dodge the Dave Matthews Bullet?
I am. How do I phrase this without being politically insensitive?
We just made a poop joke.
Oh, yeah.
I think you're fine.
I'm trying to say, so I am actually happy that Dave Matthews has become an anti-Semitic wackazoid because now my wife doesn't want to go to his concerts anymore. So I got spared the Dave Matthews thing this year.
Definitely. Or do you think she'll forget?
Well, there's a Jewish Dave Facebook group or something where all the fans are talking about this, and they're like, eventually he'll find a new cause, right? And then they'll go back to the concerts.
They'll go back?
Yeah, which is the craziest thing to me. They're
Anti-Semitism's
like
just the flavor of the week for Dave?
I don't know, man. Not my jam.
It's a trend. I want to know about this Jewish Dave group. It's just like, hi, I'm Jewish Dave, and this is my group.
Dude, half the people in my synagogue are named Dave.
There you go. One of them could be admins for that group, and you don't even know.
Exactly. Well, thank you, Young Zach. You can catch Young Zach on the morning ride every single weekday from 6 to 9 a.m. right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. And remember to come see me and Mike at the fair with his Honka Honka this Monday from around 4-ish till about 9:30 at night. We will be there for Military Appreciation Day. Got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Yeah. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up at 5:45, your chance to win fantabulous prizes, including a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card, plus so much more. But before we get to any of that, it has been 700 days since October 7th. 700 days. And there are still 48 hostages who are being held by Palestinian terrorists. 48 hostages, including the bodies of some Americans. We don't know how many of them are alive. We don't know how many of them are dead. For contrast, for a second here, the Iranian hostage crisis, where Iran was holding the people from the U.S. Embassy, 444 days. 444 days. I don't want to say only, because that's a terrible amount of time. And they were held in the embassy, which is better conditions than a tunnel underneath Gaza. 700 days. Today in the White House, President Trump was being asked about this, and they were talking about different wins on the international stage. This is what was said.
Mr. President, you brought back 72 hostages since your term. If we compare that to President Biden, he has gotten 20 taken. So he is negative 20 taken. 20 taken.
They don't take our people so often.
So, Mr. President, when we spoke, you said that that was a primary focus, and I'll tell you the job is easy because of you.
And we paid nothing, too.
We pay nothing.
They pay $6 billion there.
You remember Joe Biden? Oh, Brittany Griner. Let's get back the WNBA star. I'm not saying we shouldn't have gotten her back, but he traded a Russian arms dealer. Do you remember they gave billions of dollars to Iran to get some people back? Peace Through Strength is saying, no, you give us back our people or else. Notice we got back all the live American hostages as soon as Trump got into office. Why have we not gotten back the other hostages yet? Why have we not gotten back the dead bodies of some of the hostages yet? Well, it's basically because of Hamas. Hamas walked away from the negotiating table after all these European countries and Canada said, we're going to declare a Palestinian state. Well, if you gave them what they want, what's their incentive to actually negotiate with anybody? The president of France, Macron, today did a whole sad post about 700 days of captivity. Dude, you're one of the people who said you were going to recognize a Palestinian state, and that got Hamas to walk away from the table. See, Hamas knows something. And us Americans better start waking up to this. Hamas knows something. They know the longer this thing drags on, the worse the PR is for America and the worse the PR is for Israel. They know they can't win the actual war. They've already lost. But they know the longer it drags on, the worse it is, and the more hearts and minds they have a chance to change, like the idiots who are protesting on Seattle streets. Now, we played for you the clip of the Palestinian Youth Movement leader at a conference in Michigan this weekend. Remember what she said?
Is that 70% of the cost of the F-35 program actually comes from the supply chain. 70% of this $2 trillion that goes into the supply chain is literally because they need to transport the different components of the F-35 to different locations to assemble them. And what's really important for us to know is that the F-35 supply chain functions off of this just-in-time logistics process. It's called this, it's an inventory management system, and it's called just-in-time.
That kid has been radicalized against the U.S., and now that kid is radicalizing others against the U.S. During this conference, they were talking about the end of America, the end of Israel, the end of democracy, killing the Jews, going after the F-35. This is what is happening to our youth. Well, now Senator Tom Cotton, who's chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, is calling on the FBI to investigate this woman for what he described as incitement to violence. You can't incite people to terrorism. So Representative Anna Paulina Luna also called for the FBI to take the threat seriously. In a letter to FBI Director Kash Patel, Khan raised alarms over remarks made by Aisha Nizar at the People's Conference for Palestine in Michigan. This is the one who urged people to sabotage the F-35 supply chain. He said it's not smart to make a public call to mess with our F-35 supply chain. Issues of national security are taken very seriously. I have referred this individual to the FBI, said Anna Paulina Luna. So, Khan wrote in his letter, Nazar's statements constitute direct incitement of violence against U.S. national security interests by advocating for actions against the men and women who build the F-35 and seeking to imperil the delivery of one of the nation's most strategic assets. This conference was held in Dearborn, Michigan. On Wednesday, the Dearborn Heights Police Department unveiled an optional patch that features both English and Arabic writing on it. After the backlash, the mayor said in a statement that the patch should not have been presented as an official prototype. You mean this is what you guys were going to put out, and now that everybody's mad about it, now you're pulling the thing? You know what happens when you start changing languages? It shows you've been conquered. Maybe Dearborn Heights has been conquered. The patch was unveiled on social media Wednesday. By the way, this wasn't like some random person found it in a drawer somewhere or got the file emailed to him. It was the police department unveiling this thing. So what do you mean? This thing was just a prototype and not meant to be revealed. Featuring Dearborn Heights and police written both in English and Arabic. A post, which has since been deleted, stated the Dearborn Heights Police Department is proud to share a new optional patch that our officers may wear as part of their uniform. The patch was created by Officer Emily Murdoch, who designed it to reflect the honor and diversity of our community, especially the many residents of Arabic descent who call Dearborn Heights home. By incorporating Arabic script alongside English, this patch represents unity, respect, and our shared commitment to service. That's not in that what they want, dude. You guys know this, right? Sounds like some DEI hire put this thing together. They launched the thing and then weren't expecting the backlash. We are proud of Officer Murdoch's creativity and dedication in helping our department better represent the people we serve. Our officers proudly serve all members of our community, and this new design is another way we continue to celebrate the rich cultures that make our city unique. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? This is what we're doing? And by the way, before any of you call me hypocritical, if they did this in Hebrew, I would be outraged too. We live in the United States of America. That is, we don't speak, we can speak Hebrew here. That is not the language that signs are in here, nor should it be here. Yeah, you shouldn't be doing this, especially when you're talking about a religion that is committed to the death of America. This is insane. This is absolutely insane. Michigan is lost. Dearborn is lost. Dearborn Heights is lost. We're coming up on the anniversary of 9/11. Coming up on the 24th anniversary of 9/11. And now we've got Mamdani about to win in New York, who supports the hijackers, and we've got this happening in Michigan. Look how soon we forget, how quickly we forget. Speaking of which, staff members at CBS are quote-unquote apoplectic over Barry Weiss coming to the company. Let's go through this for a second. So according to the New York Post, CBS news staffers are apoplectic over reports that Barry Weiss, an avowedly pro-Israel journalist, is on the verge of taking the top job at the Tiffany Network. Weiss, the former New York Times opinion editor who quit in 2020 after blasting the paper's illiberal environment, is reportedly in line for a senior editorial role at CBS as part of Paramount's pending acquisition of her startup, the Free Press, in a deal valued at $200 million. So let's go through this. Barry Weiss was a liberal opinion editor at the New York Times. They were so anti-Semitic and anti-Israel at the New York Times and so pro-other stuff that she quit in 2024. It's now 2025. She broke away, formed her own company, the Free Press, which is now being purchased by CBS for $200 million because unlike CBS News, people actually read the Free Press. I don't know about you, but everybody I know, right, left, and center, loves the Free Press. They love it. Absolutely love it. So apparently people at CBS are mad because this thing's coming along and going to knock them out of the place is what they think, but that's not all. Paramount boss David Ellison, who seized control of the network in an $8 billion mega merger with Skydance, has declined to comment on the talks, but the Puck News website reported late Wednesday that the deal is in advanced stages and likely to close soon. Not happy at all, one person familiar with the mood inside CBS told Status News, adding that many journalists are bracing for an impact. Another insider warned that Weiss's arrival would set off a firestorm, particularly over coverage of Israel and Gaza, saying some employees would be apoplectic at the prospect of taking editorial direction from her. You mean not supporting a terrorist group? Or do you mean not slicing and dicing videos so Kamala Harris looks like she can actually answer a question? Which one is it? Because just the other day they were busted again for slicing and dicing something Kristi Noem said. So what are you guys mad about? That you might have to have journalistic standards, or the fact that you're not going to be supporting a terrorist organization anymore? What exactly are you mad about? Or are you mad that people might actually be reading this website and not you guys? One prominent journalist outside CBS went even further, telling Status News they would resign rather than work under Weiss. Summing up the situation with a biting line, good night and bad luck. Obviously taking a dig at their longtime anchor over there from Edward R. Murrow, who said good night and good luck. The anti-Weiss backlash, according to the New York Post, shows how rattled CBS staff already are after years of cutbacks and dwindling ratings. If I was looking at this, I would say this is good news. You know why? You've got somebody who's going to come in, somebody that people actually pay attention to their outlet, actually read, and you're going to get more exposure because of it. But they are so ideological. They are so ideologically captured that they refuse to see this for the good thing it is. Ellison has tried to calm nerves over anticipated changes at the network. On his victory lap after clinching Paramount's Skydance deal last month, he said he did not want to politicize the company, yet his first big splash at CBS News is poised to be Weiss, a sharp-tongued critic of progressive orthodoxy who built the free press into a subscriber-driven platform mixing opinion, essays, and interviews. Now, I don't know why this is controversial. By the way, the New York Post, for all of you who say they're only right-wing, this was obviously written by somebody on the left. So the thing about the free press is they have voices from the right, they have voices from the left, they have voices from the center. They have opinions and topics that people want to hear. Nobody's watching CBS News anymore. Nobody's watching most of the mainstream news anymore. Barry Weiss, she spoke in Seattle a few years ago. I remember what I thought about her speech at the time. She has moderated since then. When I heard her speak at the time, I go, what a great speech. Too bad she is suffering from such bad Trump derangement syndrome that every time she had to tie it back to, but I hate Trump. She has moved on from there. She does more the good Trump, bad Trump approach. But I remember she was so TDS driven that it was actually distracting from the speech. I remember I didn't get a chance to say anything to her afterwards. But it was actually rattling, not because I was such a big supporter of Donald Trump at the time, but because it took away from her message. I said, I can't listen to anything else you're saying because you just keep going after him for things that aren't even relevant. Barry Weiss is a hardcore liberal who has built a successful company. How far left are the people at CBS News when a hardcore liberal like Barry Weiss isn't left enough for them because she happens to be Jewish and happens to believe that supporting a terrorist agency is a bad thing? She built a $200 billion company, billion dollar company in 4 years? 4 years, less than 4 years, in 3 years. She formed the thing in 2022. And yet this thing is now worth $200 billion? Let's see Zoran Mamdani do something like that. Let's see Kshama Sawant do something like that. Yet the staff is freaking out. I would be thrilled by something like this because it would say, look at all the more eyes you're going to get on the program. Look at all the more eyes you're going to get on this. This should be celebrated by the staff, but they are so anti-Israel, so anti-American, so anti-Western values. They are absolutely freaking out that a liberal woman is going to be working at the company. She's not even going to be their boss. She's going to be running the free press. She might be on the board too. She's not running CBS News. This is how fried their brains are because this is something that should be good for them. People all of a sudden will be like, well, I'm sure, for example, when you merge things like this together, I'm sure there's going to be some links to CBS or some, for example, we have partnerships with Como News around here, and you see some links to that kind of stuff from time to time. We have partnerships with other news orgs. You see that stuff. Rising tide floats all ships. And yet, the people there should be looking at this as, oh my God, we're getting a reprieve. We're getting a bailout. And they can't even do that. Because the truth is they don't want to. They want to be ideologically captured. They want to report the news the way they want it. You want an example? A young Gazan boy dubbed Amir, who traveled to a Gaza Humanitarian Foundation distribution site and was reported as having been killed by the Israeli Defense Forces in May, has been found alive and hiding out with his mother. I knew this story was bogus the minute I saw it because I said, where's the body? If there was a body, there would be a full investigation. They would pull bullets out and go, was it Israeli? Was it Palestinian? What? Where's the body? There was no body. No body, no crime. Turns out the kid was alive the whole time. An exclusive interview with the boy, whose real name was confirmed by the GHF to be Abdul Rahim Mohammed Hamdan, who goes by Abu, the 8-year-old, and his mother answered questions provided by Fox News Digital through a translator, in which the pair appeared excited ahead of their planned extraction from the Gaza Strip. Aboud and his mother, whose name is Najla, were safely extracted from the Gaza Strip on Thursday, though the location has not been disclosed in the reporting for their protection. Outside the Gaza Strip is nice, Aboud said, according to a translation by Fox News Digital. The story of Aboud went viral after a former GHF contractor, Anthony Aguilar, a 25-year veteran of the U.S. Army and retired Green Beret colonel, said he saw the boy, who he called Amir, gunned down by the Israeli forces outside the distribution site. In his account, Aguilar showed images taken using what Fox News Digital later confirmed was his personal smartphone, the footage of which he handed over to his employer, of the boy approaching him and another contractor clutching bags of food. Aguilar claimed he and the boy had a touching moment where Abdul, whose nickname is Aboud, kissed his hand in his face in apparent thanks for the food supplies. The former Green Beret said that the boy ran back to the group of other Palestinians who were shortly after forced to leave the site after pepper spray, tear gas, and stun grenades were employed. Aguilar, who was employed as a contractor for UG Solutions, a subcontractor for GHF, then said he heard shots fired after the Palestinians had left, and upon reaching the scene, he found Aboud and others had been shot by the IDF. In his accounts of the incident to multiple media outlets, as well as Senator Chris Van Hollen, Chris Van Hollen on the wrong side again, Aguilar claimed the killing happened first outside the GHF aid site, before telling MSNBC on August 2nd that the shooting happened near a different site, and then telling Dialogue Works late last month that it occurred after a different site. So his story kept changing. The GHF terminated Aguilar's contract in June, launched an investigation at the end of July to try and locate the identity of the boy and uncover what happened. Through their investigation, which relied on speaking with local Palestinians, they eventually tracked down the boy and his mother. So wait a second. This guy lied. The mainstream media ran with it without verifying any of the facts. And now the boy turns out to be alive, not dead. This is the kind of junk that CBS does all the time. This is the kind of junk that MSNBC does all the time. You mean what they're mad about is that a real mainstream news site, a real news site, which was started just 3 years ago, is doing a better job than CBS, which has been around for decades? That's what they're really mad about. And they're mad that it's not their leftist, far leftist, so left they're in league with a terrorist organization ideology. Congratulations to Barry Weiss. You left the New York Times and so many people said, oh my God, this is going to be the end of her career. It's going to be career suicide. She's selling her company for $200 billion. That's amazing. That's incredible. And that's something nobody on the left can do because they're so busy going, what I'm owed. They're so busy going, oh, I'm dedicated to my ideology, not actually making something successful. Congratulations. And maybe CBS News might be saved by the people they claim. You're not a real journalist anymore because you went independent when you left. Oh, the Free Press, they're not real journalists. They've got more subscribers than CBS News. This is huge and might actually shift the political landscape as well. When people look at something like this and say, holy cow, this is something that can be done. News media is changing. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends. When we come back, a landmark bookstore in Portland is facing serious financial challenges. Is it because of the homeless? Because of the cost? What's driving it? We'll give you all the details when we come back. But first, Todd Herman's Daily Thoughtcast, right now on the Ari Hoffman Show. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, coming up at 5:45, your chance to win fantabulous prizes, including a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card, plus so much more. Yet another reason, always keep your radio tuned to 570 KVI. Left on your dial, always right on the issues. You can also stream us at KVI.com, download the KVI app, and, of course, subscribe on whatever your preferred podcast platform is. I don't like Portland. I like Oregon. I don't like Portland. I think it's a very boring city. I think it's a very ugly city. This is just my 2 cents, and I know some of you are from that area and are going to disagree with me. I love Seaside, for example. I love the Deschutes River in Oregon. I do not like Portland. It is really a very boring city, in my opinion. The only thing I did like about Portland is Powell's Books. Powell's Books, if you haven't been there, you haven't been to a bookstore. You may have been to bookstores, but you haven't been. It is magnificent. It is really, really magnificent. But now they're having a whole bunch of layoffs. They're having ongoing financial struggles. I mean, this thing takes over half of the middle of Portland. It's blocks of books. It's really very, very cool. But according to the Portland Business Journal, they're having mass layoffs and more are expected in the coming months. Now, they didn't really talk about their financial, what's causing their financial problems. They claim it's after the pandemic. But they're not saying the quiet part. Here's what they said. Competition from online retailers, fact check, that's very, very true. They said in-store sales that has not fully recovered and decreased foot traffic and tourism in downtown Portland. Gee, why do you think there's decreased foot traffic and tourism in downtown Portland? Hang on, this is a real head scratcher there. I mean, look, Portland has been this way since before the pandemic, so what changed? Oh, you mean you turned your city over to Antifa? That might be it. Oh, you turned it over to the homeless and the drug addicts and everything else? Yeah, that might be it too. The last time I was down in Portland, which was a while ago now, I remember looking around going, whoa, Seattle doesn't have anything on this place. Holy cow, I cannot believe how many tents I saw in all the places I saw them. All the drug use, everything else I saw down there. And they're blowing billions of dollars. They're even spending more money than we are on this stupidity per capita. It's insane. I wonder why nobody's going to the bookstore anymore. I think retail sales from online retailers are only part of the problem. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line, take a call from Paul in Woodinville. Paul, what's up?
Well, speaking of no jobs, how about that jobs report for August, right? 22,000 jobs created by Trump.
Yeah.
In fact,
oh, you know what I like about it? It's honest, unlike the Biden ones, which never said what the number actually... Paul, are we going to have a discussion or not? You asked me a question. I'm telling you what I think. I don't think it was a very good jobs report, but I like that they're honest about it as opposed to the Biden administration, which would revise it a couple weeks later, down and down and down, just to try and claim we weren't in a recession. Paul, did you leave so soon, Paul? Is that it? Oh, can't take the heat. Stay out of the kitchen. He wanted to come on the show so bad. I don't know where he went. Whatever. Meanwhile, speaking of the other fun in Portland, California State University professor Jonathan Caravello has been indicted by a federal grand jury for throwing a tear gas canister at federal agents during an immigration enforcement operation at a marijuana farm earlier this year. According to the Post-Millennial, the violence broke out at Glass House Farms in Caramello, California, one of the largest weed farms in the state. U.S. Attorney for the Central District of California, Bill Esseely, made the announcement on Wednesday in an X post saying that Caravello, 37, of Ventura, face up to 20 years in prison. Yeah, gee, where's all the radicalism coming from? By the way, if you look at this guy, he looks like a younger version of Dr. Oken from Independence Day. You know, the one that Brent Spiner played? The last 24 hours have been really exciting. Like that guy, right? That's what this guy looks like. Yeah, I can't imagine where these kids are getting their radicalism from. By the way, this is a real FAFO story here. A man who was arrested for allegedly towing an immigration and customs enforcement vehicle in Los Angeles while agents were undertaking enforcement operations to detain an illegal immigrant, TikTok influencer for DUI, Bobby Nunez faces up to 10 years in prison if convicted. Sure, just randomly tow a car. Yeah, that'll work out well. Acting U.S. Attorney for the Central District of California announced the arrest on Tuesday, writing, Bobby Nunez is now under arrest for brazenly towing an ICE vehicle. He is charged with theft of government property. Apparently, he thought it would be funny to interfere with our immigration enforcement operations. Now he can laugh behind bars while he faces justice. Nunez is looking at up to 10 years in a federal prison if convicted. Also saw this news breaking right now, actually, from the Post-Millennial. I got this from our friend, Katie Daviscourt. Apparently, President Trump just said he is considering deploying the National Guard to Portland and went on a tear against Antifa. I'll make sure I have that clip for you on Monday. But this is really because of the reporting of people like Katie Daviscourt. You know that the mainstream news outlets down there have not been covering the over 80 days of rioting outside that ICE facility down there. Katie's been down there nonstop. Where's the mainstream media been? Where's Coin and Kong and KATU and all these other outlets? There's been rioting in downtown Portland at that ICE facility for 80 days. And yet they don't cover this kind of stuff. Katie's an independent journalist, and now she got the attention of the White House. Now, because the Post-Millennial is reporting, because the White House is now possibly sending the National Guard to Portland. It's insane, by the way. Katie broke a story just the other day that apparently The Portland police are now under investigation for not doing anything about this. They've been deliberately ignoring 911 calls. I don't blame the police officers for that. I blame that for whoever's running the police department down there. Kudos to Katie. Really, good job. When we come back, my friends, Lars will be unleashed. That's right, our weekly sit down and chat with our friend Lars Larson. That plus so much more, including your good news giveaway coming up at 5:45. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. My friends, this has become a bit of a contentious issue because a lot of people on the left are claiming all of us on the right who want to actually follow the science are a bunch of bigots. Why? We want to follow their red flag laws. They're the ones who say that if you have mental issues, you should not have access to a firearm. Well, until 5 minutes ago, DSM-5, which is the Gray's Anatomy of the Mind, defined gender dysmorphia as a mental problem. But apparently now it's not in there anymore because of the trans movement. And now when the Trump administration says they are considering banning people who are trans from having firearms, the left is absolutely freaking out. Joining us now to discuss, of course, my friend who we unleash here every single Friday, Lars Larson. Good to have you back, buddy.
Hey, it's great to be back. And I know this is going to throw people for a loop. They're going to say, Lars, you're in favor of gun control. I said, no, I'm in favor of what's already there, which is go to a gun store, go to go to see any of your favorite gun stores, including my favorites, and you'll fill out a 4473. It's a form. Asks you all kinds of things. Are you legally in the United States? Are you an American citizen? And have you ever been committed to a mental institution? So we already have a limit that says, well, crazy people can't have guns. Now, the way they chose to define crazy was, have you ever been committed to a mental institution? Which means there are a lot of people who have mental problems who are still allowed to buy guns, but if you're currently under treatment as a transgender individual, transmorphia, gender dysphoria, all those, as you said, it's in DSM-5, and you say, why is it in there? Well, the liberals, I don't want to take it all the way out because as long as it's in there, it's something you can get treatment for, which means you qualify to have Medicaid pay for your gender change.
Yeah.
And they don't want to get rid of that. On the other hand, they want to say, but you're sane. The problem is you and I both know there are at least a dozen incidents in the last 7 years or so where transgender individuals have done horrendously violent things, including not too long ago Nashville, and within the last month there's Minneapolis, Minnesota. So you say, well, why would we limit them? Well, we limit people right now. If a judge has ever sent you to a mental institution, that's where they decided to draw the line.
Yeah.
And they say, but what if you're feeling better now? Let me just throw this in quickly, and that is, Ari, you say, well, there are quite a number of people who were at one point sent to a mental institution by a judge. They're disqualified. But what if they've been out of that mental institution for the last 10 years and they've been living a relatively normal life? They've been keeping their mental illness under control. They're still banned from buying a gun. In the case of transgender individuals, I'd say, number one, you have a mental illness. And number two, if you've gone to UW or any of the other institutions that still practice this nonsense, you've been loaded up with a bunch of hormones. And as we all know, hormones make everybody act differently. You could talk about menopausal women. You could talk about pregnant women. You could talk about men who load up with too many roids so they can build their muscles like Arnold Schwarzenegger, but fakes. They are all affected by those hormones. Is it possible they're playing a role in why we have this disproportionate number of transgender? Now, I've rattled on long enough. I'll shut up for a while. I want to know what you think of the idea. Should we allow people who are mentally ill and under treatment to get a gun?
Well, I think we're already not allowing it. I think the left just changed the rules and changed their definition. So I'm not sure if you know about this one here, Lars. Apotomonophilia, okay? Otherwise known as body integrity dysmorphia. I'm reading from DSM right now, a rare mental health condition in which a person feels that one of their limbs, often an arm or a leg, does not belong to their body, and they may have an overwhelming desire to amputate it. While not exclusively to veterans, some veterans develop this or related conditions, sometimes intertwined with post-traumatic stress disorder or other trauma-related experiences. So it's already in there. It's already a problem. Why is your private parts different than a limb? It should be the exact same thing. Just the left is trying to change the definition.
And even though you and I aren't psychologists or psychiatrists or anything like that, if you have a gender dysmorphia that is so severe that you want to have some of the most important, at least in my book, some of the most important parts of your body removed or otherwise modified, I think you're mentally disturbed. And here's the other thing. We already know that transgender people, both those who've been affirmed by this nonsense in society and those who have not been affirmed, have a much higher suicide rate than the general population. So you have suicidal, mentally ill people with extra hormones loaded on top, and you want to give them a gun. Give me a good reason why we should allow that.
Right, and I think everybody forgets about Bruce Jenner, or Caitlyn Jenner, whatever name they go by these days, who actually got in a car accident where they were doped up on all these drugs, and that went away real fast. Everybody seems to forget about that one. But when you start messing with people's chemical balances and make them imbalanced, you're going to have issues. I mean, I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 similar disorders in DSM. 9 similar disorders that would all prevent you from having a firearm, yet the left is now saying, nope, this one doesn't count anymore. Instead, they're saying, we affirm this. So you're saying, yes, we're affirming your mental illness. We're going to go with this. Well, then you should affirm the consequences of it, like what happened in the school.
That's right. And a lot of the DSM talks about the discomfort or the distress that body dysmorphia puts on people. You say, well, if you're distressed and suicidal and everything else, does that mean that you're a person who probably shouldn't have a gun? Society, and for all my Second Amendment friends who say, well, Lars, you're talking about a new limitation. No, I'm not. I'm saying if you're mentally ill, we don't want you to have a gun. The law already says that. It just happens to draw the line in one case on commitment to a mental institution. But I would say that if you say, well, this is a person who's so disturbed by their appearance that they want to take chemicals and even surgery to change their appearance. They are that distressed by, I mean, look, I'm distressed by my appearance. I look in the mirror and think, okay, I could probably use a lot of work, but I'm not going to do that because I don't believe in it. But if I was that distressed that I wanted to have limbs or other important parts cut off, I'd say, yeah, I probably shouldn't have a gun at that point. And that is not a new limitation. That is a limitation that, and I've never heard my Second Amendment friends saying, shouldn't we give mentally ill people guns these days? I've never heard anybody say that.
Well, here's something else. Donald Trump has managed to put the Democrats on the wrong side of this issue in a very clever way. So now you've either got the left defending people having guns or or they're violating their own red flag laws or and once again the left is automatically on the wrong side of this issue.
He's put them in a really tough spot. They either have to defend Second Amendment rights, but only for transgender, not for everybody else who's otherwise normal, or they have to oppose Second Amendment rights for everyone, including transgender and everybody else. Which one are they going to pick? They are on the 20%ers, I think in this case, the 2% end of every one of those, and Donald Trump is on the 80 to 98% end of the argument. It locks them in a box. I mean, look, there are a bunch of liberals this week who came out and defended 11 poor drug dealers who got blown to smithereens, who are not, and I didn't even understand Rand Paul on that. What about constitutional rights? I said, what American constitutional rights does a Trende Aragua Venezuelan in a boat full of drugs have? As far as I can tell, he has no constitutional rights.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really fun when the midterm elections roll around. Lars Larson, you can catch his show every single weekday from 12 to 3 right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Lars, have a wonderful weekend, my friend.
And you as well, Ari. Take care.
Only good news to wrap up the show. Your good news giveaway, your good news headlines, your chance to win a $50 Daniels Broiler gift card, plus so much more. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. It is time to feel good as we wrap another amazing episode, another amazing week of the Ari Hoffman Show right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. And before we get to our good news giveaway, before we get to our good news headlines, a little programming detail for you. So on Monday, Mike and I are going to be doing the show, and then we are going to be zipping down to the Washington State Fair. So if you hear any of those things that say this show was recorded earlier or anything like that, just know it's all fresh content that we are recording on Monday, and then we're going to zip down to the fair. I know some of you last year go, wait, how are you on the radio? How are you here at the same time? So you can listen to us and then come see us at the fair. So you get to hear all brand new content, all new perspectives, and then you get to come see us at the fair. So you get the best of both worlds. You get the show, and you get to see us in person. It'll be fantastic.
Well, and don't forget to spend your entire day at the fair because you get to go see Phil, who will be taking that opening shift. I think he'll be there from like 10:30 to 2 or whatever that opening shift is, and then Ari, you and I will be there in the afternoon. And I want to remind folks, I just got my an update from when we recorded fake news earlier. I just got a shipping notification from Amazon, and let's just say if you are a part of the Big Mike militia, you want to come by the booth and hang out with me because you will have the opportunity to do some live I don't even know how to put it, Ari. You'll have your opportunity to right there at the table. So that's exciting. Plus, our friends from 101.5 Hank FM have a couple new games. They got like a giant size Connect 4 and a toss across tic-tac-toe. It's going to be a lot of fun. We really like to roll out everything for those Military Mondays as we salute our veterans and their service. It's something we're very proud to be a part of.
Now, I'll say something else here, by the way. We're going to be there around 4-ish, and we'll be there till around 9:30-ish, whatever time that is. But
whenever they kick us out.
Whenever they kick us out, exactly right. I got a few emails, Mike, because I said it on air. I got a few emails about that rooftop bar place. And they said, hey, is that actually happening? Are we doing that? And I think, guys, the problem is
How about new?
Well, here's the thing.
Ari Hoffman, once again writing checks his butt can't cash. Hey, let's just broadcast live from the rooftop bar. We'll just be there for the last hour.
So I think
also, it's nighttime at that time. I don't think you thought of that either.
That's the other problem. So the biggest issue here is, guys, is that we're the ones running the booth. So we can't leave the booth to go to the rooftop bar. So that's one of the issues there. However, come by the KVI booth, see us at the KVI booth. We would love to see you at the KVI booth, and we'll have giveaway stuff. We'll have like stickers, and we'll have other stuff.
Stickers and pens.
Stickers and pens.
And our friends from Northwest News Radio will have notepads. So by our powers combined, you get a pen from us and a notepad from them, and then you got your shopping list. But speaking of that awesome rooftop bar, Ari, I would encourage folks to go check that out. That's it's part of the 1900, their new food hall thing. I've been to the fair a lot over the last
Mike
week or
is
so.
the king of the fair.
So yeah, I've mayor of the fair. I've had some Big Mouth Sandos, and I've had some Detroit style pizza. And the rooftop bar is pretty cool. You got the people mover thing that passes right overhead, a lot of couches, a lot of heaters, because you're gonna need it because it's gonna be nighttime. But they have that Silver City Brewing 125 years of the fair do the Puyallup Pale Ale, which is really quite good, and I would recommend if you're there for nighttime activities to check out.
I'm excited. This is going to be my first time at the fair this season. I have not been there this year yet, so I'm very, very excited to check out all the new stuff, see all the new stuff, and get some scones and milkshake. I want some good stuff down there.
Here's another wacky thing, Ari. So I've talked about all the things I've done. The one thing I've not done, scones.
Really?
Yeah. I'm about sconed out.
Oh, you've had enough of it.
Yeah,
I got
because I've been this isn't the first fair I've been to this season, and so maybe I'll get some on my birthday on the 15th. I don't know. That's what my wife is leading me towards. She's like, well, you realize when you bring home a sack of scones, they're just staring at me all day, and I'm like, oh yeah, unintended consequences. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, exactly right. I'm trying to watch my weight, so I don't know if I'm actually going to get a scone or a milkshake this year. So I might just be watching it this year. So yeah, but I wonder if my daughter is going to say, hey, Dad, I want some scones or something like that. Anywho, love the fair. Can't wait to check it out. Also, while I'm there, I'm going to go visit our friends over at the GOP booth. We're going to go see them. And remember, while you're down there, you can sign the initiatives to make sure there is voter ID. Remember to stop by their booth and make sure that you sign the initiatives there. Plus, they always have fun stuff for sale. And we can check that out, too.
Yeah, I put up a couple pictures of their booth up on my social media over the weekend. And yeah, it's right next to, I don't remember the cat's name, but the guy that does like all the custom shirts for you. He's got a lot of cool hats. They got the Trump standee and all that. It's a really cool booth, but it's the GOP booth has never been closer to the KVI booth before. They're on the back side wall of the Showplex, diagonal from where we're at. So like you can go into the Showplex, go to the side wall, find the Pierce County GOP booth, and then pop right out on the other side, and the KVI booth is right there. It's super easy, barely an inconvenience.
Awesome. Great. So yeah, come see us on Monday for Military Appreciation Day at the Washington State Fair. You can get your tickets now at thefair.com. That's thefair.com. Well, we were talking about this article earlier from CNBC that Hollywood is now turning to make more video game movies. And they go, well, Super Mario Brothers was a success, and Minecraft was a success, and The Last of Us is a success for streaming, and Fallout. I think the difference is make good video game movies. I mean, that Doom movie, terrible. That Super Mario Brothers movie from the 90s, my God, unwatchable garbage. But when you make stuff people actually want to see. Now, I think what the direction they're going in is people maybe have cape fatigue. So they're thinking to themselves, maybe the video games is the next place. I still go back to there's so many true untold stories that haven't been done yet. But yeah, this is a great way to go. I'm waiting for Duke Nukem, the movie, because that Wing Commander movie was terrible. Unwatchable garbage. But you give me a Duke Nukem movie, that's a franchise. I think that could be a lot of fun. I don't know what might be similar to it or what it might be based on, but that could be a lot of fun.
I mean, eventually 90s nostalgia will catch up for you millennials. That'll be fine. But I would remind the court that they have made no fewer than 3 good Sonic movies and a TV show that folks seem to like. They made a good Mortal Kombat movie. You've got a sequel coming out next year. You have a Street Fighter movie coming out this October.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, like, video games is just another opportunity to mine for IP, not all that dissimilar to novels or comic books or anything like that. What I don't think is going to happen is I don't think we're going to see the Minecraft phenomena again.
No,
I think that's the hubris of Hollywood sometimes is I think when sometimes things hit, they learn the wrong lessons. So Minecraft does well, suddenly, people want video game movies. No, like you said, Ari, we want good video game movies.
Right.
Barbie did gangbusters, so people want movies about toys. No, we want compelling stories that happen to use the IP as a vehicle to tell the compelling story. We just want good movies. We just want good stories.
I will remind everybody of the Captain America movie that came out in the 90s that nobody saw because it was bad.
Rubber ears.
Real bad. Before I forget, your chance to win fantabulous prizes. Today we're giving away a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card. Daniel's Broiler has been a Seattle favorite since 1980. Features USDA prime steak and other specialties, including chicken and fresh seafood, as well as a selection of high-end spirits, wine, and cocktails. Check out danielsbroiler.com to reserve a table, place your takeout, delivery order, and more. We're also giving away a copy of 7 Steps to a Successful Retirement by Brian Evans of Madrona Financial and CPAs. Visit madronafinancial.com for more information and discover how you can create a rooted wealth plan today. All you have to do in order to win these fantabulous prizes is be caller number 10 at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Caller number 10 to win a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card and a copy of 7 Steps to a Successful Retirement by Brian Evans at Madrona Financial and CPAs. Phone lines are open now. Give Mike a call for your chance to win at 206-421-5757. That's going to do it for us this week, my friends. Fear not. We'll be back on Monday with more insane stories, more exciting guests, and, of course, more giveaways. You've been listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.